Welcome, everyone. TikTok family. Welcome. We're going to be covering Aberline magic, sacred magic. Really good, really good topic and a really good spiritual study. Really good spiritual study. I've already posted this in our community. And I hope you've had a chance to look at the presentations and some of the things we went over in our community. And I'm going to share a little bit about it here. I thought I should share about Aberline magic and where it comes from. Again, we've covered Solomonic magic, and we're going to jump into that again. We're going to jump into that again next week. But this Aberline magic, I thought I posted it in our group, in our community, and I was looking through there and I was like, no, I didn't. And we did not cover this. And Aberline oil is very popular among hoodoo practitioners. And you will see everyone has their own recipe on making Aberline oil. And of course, we have all those resources in there. If you're interested in making Aberline oil, we have a variety of resources in the conjure books that shows you how to make Aberline oil. And hey, how you doing? Lisa, Miscellaneous AB. Welcome. And so we're going to jump into Aberline because that is a part of our framework in Hoodoo. We do cover Aberline magic. And Hoodoo is a mixture of Aberline. You can see the Aberline in there. We do cover that. We cover Agrippa. We cover Solomonic magic, Arbitel magic, because we do have those components in there. Why are we looking at that? 99% of the time, we're looking at that and where they got it from because I always go to the root of where it comes from. Usually, most of these people are getting their ritual framework from ancient Egypt. It just always leads back there, or it leads back to shamanism. Okay, those are the oldest, the spiritual formats and spiritual practices in the world. Okay. And so when we go back and look at these things, we start seeing connections and these frameworks work. If you work them, if you're intentional about them, they do work. That's why we look at them. No, they're not telling us this because it doesn't work. They're telling us this because it absolutely works. So most magic has some sort of framework to it. You'll start seeing patterns and noticing these patterns when you're seeing this, reading these books and educating yourself and not just listening to other people. When you're actually sitting down, absorbing the information, it becomes obvious that this is a magic does have a formulation to it. Or is this really magic? I hope this is making sense to some of you. But let's jump into Aberline magic. And as you go on, too, you will see that. Have to say this again because people don't want to hear it, but I'm going to say it. You got people up here coming up here showing you a spells, getting up 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't understand what's in you. You don't understand the practice. And you are up here, saying these psalms and you don't know what's going on. It's only so long you're going to be able to do that before you are pushed to understand what you are doing. Okay? I'm going to talk about it here. And you think shadow work is not connected to magic, but it is most certainly is, especially when we jump into uh, the Aberline sacred magic. This man is doing extreme shadow work. Um, I don't recommend it. Not doing it the way he just did it uh, to try to grasp power. And you got some people, that go down this path and they just want power. So uh this can have some great consequences with it. But we'll go into that when we look at Solomonic magic and when we look at Solomon, he paid a great price for his power as well. So we'll go into that next week. We're gonna focus on Aberline sacred magic. and people experience with it today. So I'm going to go over some notes, and as always, I'll give my commentary. Uh, and if you have any questions as I move on or anything that you want to add, please add it. I'll be looking in the chat. So let's just go over some notes. And of course, if you're in our community, you've already got a whole breakdown of the book, a presentation, and then you've got a modern resource to help you practice Aberline magic. And you're practicing because it seems to be the total framework for ritual when you get to look at Aberline. So let's look at it. Aberline is written from a point of view of Abraham, a Jewish Kabbalist from Germany who travels to Egypt. It seems like they're always going to Egypt, don't it, y'all? They're always going to Egypt, and makes contact with a powerful magician called Aberline the Magi or Mage, and teaches him a system of magic to contact a heavenly power that then and then the rest of the book Aberline goes on to describe high magic that Aberline has taught to Abraham, who is passing the knowledge down to his son Lamech. So you're seeing this occult practice or this ritual uh, being created and passed down. Okay, to truly understand the forbidden knowledge of Aberline, we must first grasp this ritual, actually, what it actually is at its deepest level. This is not collection of magical techniques you can pick up and choose from like items on the menu. This is a complete existential transformation, a spiritual death and rebirth that strips away everything you think you are to reveal what you truly are beneath the layers of the ego, conditioning, and illusion. Imagine for a moment that you are a house that has been lived in for decades. The walls are covered with paint and wallpaper. You think you know this house. After all, you live in it every day. But the Abermeline operation is like stripping that house down to its bare bones, removing every false wall, every decorative cover, every comfortable illusion until only the original structure remains. And sometimes what you discover beneath all those layers is not what you expected. Sometimes you find the foundation itself is cracked, that the structure you've living in was never as solid as you believed. This is why the purification phase is not optional. It is not mere preparation. It is the very essence of the work itself. For 6 months, the practitioners live in a state of complete spiritual focus. This means rising before dawn for prayers, maintaining absolute chastity, abstaining from anything that clouds the mind or weakens the will, living in isolation from distractions and temptations of the world. Every single day, multiple times per day, the practitioner performs prayers, invocations designed to align their consciousness with the divine frequency. But why such severity? Why such discipline? Because what you are attempting to do is nothing less than rewiring your entire spiritual circuitry. Think of it this way: your normal consciousness operates at a certain frequency, like a radio tuned to a specific station. And what you're doing here is trying to, again, the holy guardian angel operates at a completely different frequency, one that your ordinary state of being cannot perceive or receive. Okay? And this is very extreme. This is what he wrote. This is what he did this for a total of 6 months with no distraction. That's why I tell you, you want some power. That's what it's going to take, you guys. Did you hear? I didn't say this. This is the instructions in the book how to follow the ritual Aberline magic. People saying they want power. Can you do that for 6 months? Nobody, no distraction, no, TikTok, no YouTube, no, just totally focused on unspiritual for a total of 5 or 6 months straight and yourself. Because you're gonna come in contact with yourself, and that's when the shadow work comes in. I see the name Merlin, the wizard, if I'm not correct. I no, it's Abermeline. Abermeline. Okay. So you have to go into that, that's why I tell you, so a lot of people want to get in here, want to have power to do this and power to do that. Are you ready to go look at your demons? Are you ready to look at your demons? Because they going to come up. That's why we do the shadow work. You say you want that shadow, you want power. Okay, come, let's all go look at self. You think you know yourself. You think you know what's going on the inside of you until you got to sit down and look at you. Oh, we don't know what's on the inside of us. You think these demons on the outside of you. No, 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 no. Start doing them shadow work and start looking at them demons, all that trauma start to come up and try to convince you, try to take your power away. Start looking at those emotions and you start seeing a demon or some type of spirit connected with it. I'm telling you the truth, but this ain't what you ready to hear. You say you want power. You want to understand. This what it entails. This what this journey entails. I don't agree with the way Aberline is going, the process of what he's doing, because it's very extreme and it can be very, very dangerous. This has some people go into a psychosis who ain't ready to process it. He didn't have anything there to integrate it. But I digress. Let's move on. The purification process is likely slowly, painstakingly, adjusting your internal tuning mechanism, clearing away the static interference created by worldly attachments, negative emotions, and ego driven desires. The ritual space itself becomes a microcosm of this transformation. The altar represents the world, the center where heaven and earth meet. The prayers spoken within the walls accumulate spiritual force, layer upon layer, building toward the moment of divine contact. Now I've seen this. We had some ancestors that had prayer rooms, and they didn't want you in that prayer room. They really didn't like nobody. If they had a prayer room or a prayer closet, most of them didn't like nobody in there. You know why? Because when they were in there doing rituals and saying these invocations, and some people, I've seen some practitioners, they have sigils and things on their wall. They'll even have stuff written on the floor. Now, I've seen our ancestors do, they have something written on the floor, a room just for that. What happens, the more you do that ritual in that room, again, you're feeding this psychic energy. The whole room becomes alive because of the rituals that you're doing in there, because of the power of your words and the invocation. So now when you walk in that room, you magically go, it becomes sort of a portal, so to speak. When the psychic energy is building up in there and you have a private space where you're able to do these invocations and have your sigils and seals put up there, every time you're going in there. And the altar is the same way. When you're going to your altar, saying, saying these prayers and saying these invocations, and you're really putting ashe in the altar, you're building up this psychic energy on your altar. That's why you'll hear me too say you need to get those rituals going. You need to build up your ashe. Okay, because the more you're going to this altar, the stronger the ashe is going to be on your altar. Rituals builds power. Okay, it's in astral realm, and we got to remember we're in a physical realm, so it takes us time to really tap into that kind of power, because this reality, this third dimensional, moves slow. So that's why we have to use damn near your whole being, your mind, your body, and your emotions to really move that work. I hope this is making sense. Okay, let's move on here. During these 6 months, something profound begins to happen. The practitioner starts to notice changes, not always comfortable ones. You start to see yourself. And this is scary. I saw this in shadow work for the first, when I started doing my shadow work and I started looking at my stuff, I was like, oh my God. Because you stripping everything down. For the first time, you stripping everything down, looking at yourself. I mean, you breaking down that family tree. You're pointing everything out. And it is uncomfortable. You're not who you think you are. I promise you not. Whatever ego that you think that's there, boy, you start to look at yourself. you're going to be uncomfortable. Awareness is, I call it, when I was experienced, I said this thing has a two-edged sword to it. It'll heal you, but it also is like a sledgehammer. It breaks the illusion that you had. So you better be ready to come out of denial too. And some people are not ready to come out of denial when they do this, do this work, especially when they go about it this way, because those demons are going to come up. They're gonna come up if you ain't gonna deal with them. And the way he was dealing with this, let me move on because I don't want to spoil it for you. Dreams become vivid, sometimes prophetic, sometimes nightmarish. Old wounds resurface, demanding to be healed. Patterns of behavior that once seemed normal reveal themselves as chains holding you back. Relationships may fall away as you outgrow them. That's what happens in shadow work. I started doing this and I said, oh my gosh, I started to look at marriage in a totally different way. Man, I didn't want to be married anymore. I'm telling you, if you start doing this, I said this is some codependency on the on so many levels. Okay, when you really start looking at why we're doing things, really start questioning yourself. I'm telling you, this work is and this Aberline was doing this hard as 6 months, and sometimes it takes people to really see results if you're being consistent at it. It may take you 2 or 3 years to really process all of this, and he was doing this 6 months. That is very dangerous, and I don't recommend it. And he was doing it by himself. I don't recommend that for anyone. That's not a safe way to do this type of work. This is all part of your process. You are being purified whether you like it or not. And everything that cannot withstand the fire of the transformation will be burned away. This is where many fail their first attempt. They believe they can negotiate with the process, that they can hold on to their comfortable illusions while still achieving divine connection. They cannot. Okay. And here, we see too that this went on, this ritual occult practice went on to the Golden Dawn. And Aleister Crowley got his hands on it. And do you know most every occultist that tried to do this verbatim, the way Aberline did it, failed. They had to abandon it because of the demons, their demons in them. They wasn't ready to confront those demons, because that's what's going to happen with this. It is deeply spiritual and psychological. When you're looking, that's why I got to get you in your mind. When I'm telling you to go inside your mind, you're going to see it in every magic book, every occult book. If you're going to access that power, you're going to have to go within your mind, stop avoiding yourself. This ain't about avoiding yourself. You need to get in yourself as much as possible. You need to see, and I know this is going to be very uncomfortable for some of you. You need to see the demons that walk with you and the angels that walk with you. You need to know yourself. Hey, miscellaneous AB. That's what you need to see. You need to see both of them. I know this is, you need to see the angels that walk with you, your guardian angels that walk with you, and you also need to see these demons. These anger, that rage, okay, that lust, that regret, that scarcity. You need to see all of those that live in you and confront them. But I wouldn't recommend like in the way that Aberline did it, because he was doing this alone. This can be very scary when done alone. And then he goes into the holy guardian angel. And here I don't agree with this method. But I gotta also say, we have these patriarchs that's just, I'm gonna have, here I go with my decolonizing and moving the misogyny. You have these patriarchs getting their hands on this information, and they're looking for power. I didn't like the if you I didn't like the way Aberline the reason why he was doing this. I did, I just didn't agree with it. Okay. So this will make it sense as we go on. The holy guardian angel does not meet you where you are. I totally disagree. You must rise to meet it. And that decision requires that you surrender everything that is false within you. Now, here is a crucial understanding that separates Aberline systems from the lesser magical operation. This is not about forcing spirits to do your bidding through threats and conjurations. This is about becoming so aligned with divine will, so purified in your intention, so firmly rooted in your true spiritual nature that when you finally make contact with your guardian angel, you are speaking from a place of genuine authority, not the authority of the ego, but the authority of one who has surrendered their false self and discovered their true divine identity. The moment of contact with the holy guardian angel is described in the text as indescribable, a direct knowing or conversation beyond words and recognition of something you have always been but had forgotten. So it's like a coming to self. That's going to happen through shadow work. When you start to begin to do shadow work and you become aware of your thoughts and start purging some things out, then you're going to become more aware of yourself. That intuition will automatically heighten because people are going to be falling away, and you're going to have a chance to sit with yourself and listen to yourself if you're truly doing ongoing shadow work. This is really where the level up at. Okay, it is unexplainable when it starts happening. You will feel the alignment happen. All these synchronicities start to jump off. That's how you will be able to tell. Okay. Some practitioners report visions overwhelming beauty, others a sense of completion so profound that everything in their life suddenly makes sense. Still, others describe it as a meeting their truest self for the first times, as if they had been living as a shadow and suddenly stepped into the light of their own being. This is where the authenticity comes in, where you really get to see your true self, because authenticity is rare in this world. It's rare. It's not a lot of authenticity going on here. Okay, people are following and worshiping each other instead of being in their true self, worshiping themselves, honoring themselves. But this divine contact is only the first phase of the operation. Once the connection is established, once the holy guardian angel has been successfully invoked and communion achieved, the ritual enters its second far most dangerous phase. That I do not recommend this. Okay, the subjugation of demonic princesses. This is, I seen this going with Solomon, and then we have this man doing the same thing. Now they're getting ready to subjugate these demons. Okay, and just like this holy guardian angel lives inside of us, because we're operating these things, these energies, these archetypes are a part of our collective conscious too. Let's get this right. This is psycho spiritual. Whatever the mind, again, this is a collective consciousness. These are archetypes that live inside of us that manifest in our reality when we choose to activate them and engage with them. We can experience them in our 3D reality. Yes, they are real. So you have to remember that too. And so once he's done this, he's getting ready. He's doing this for the purpose of subjugating the demons. And remember, these demons, they live inside of him, but now he's subjugating them and controlling them and commanding them. This takes on it takes a different turn. Okay, because one thing to control and command a demon like this, you have to be, it's no balance in there. You are totally denying this rage, these anger, and these things inside of you. You're not, and they have, at some point they have to coexist. because this is a part of your consciousness as well. And the one thing you do wrong, since you're subjugating them, they're gonna subjugate you. So when you do something wrong, not in the, you anytime that they see you with any weakness, they're gonna take advantage and subjugate you because you didn't do any integration. Okay, that's not proper integration. I'm telling you, because when you start trying to, most people that try to control these spirits like that, again, trying to control these behaviors that's in you, and you're trying to dispel them out of you, that is not the way to do it. Okay, that is not the way to handle those. This is going to make sense as I go on. Okay. It is describing something far more profound, psychologically complex, the confrontation with the shadow forces of existence itself, both within and without. In the traditional cosmology of Aberline systems, after successfully invoking the holy guardian angel, the practitioner must, this is, must call for the four great demon princesses, Lucifer, Leviathan, Satan, and Baal, along with their subordinate spirits. These entities represent the chaotic, destructive, and uncontrolled forces of the universe and of the human psyche. Okay? So he is, and again, you got to be able to look at your, uh, look at all parts of the human nature and the human psyche. And sometimes that's not pretty. That's just like the Cali that we have in us. I'm gonna refer to ourselves because I'm a woman. The rage that women can have, that collective consciousness lives in me. So we're able to access that. I'm not saying she's a demon. I probably shouldn't have used that as an example, but I'm using it. So again, looking at that and looking at how that fits. Okay, we still have these energies inside of us. Once you start naming them and looking at your rage, looking at your anger, and asking it its name and where it comes from. Why are you angry? Where did this anger comes from? What spirit is connected with this anger? It'll show you itself, but are you ready to see that? Are you ready to see that? Okay. That's why I said you need to do this at a slow rate. Yeah, I think you should have your angels. That's why we have you working with angels and working with saints when you first approach this, because you're going to need some help moving this stuff out. The way he is doing is very extreme, because some people are not ready to see their demons face to face, but yet it is part of you. I know you don't want to hear that, but because when we go into psychology, that's what you're doing. You're diving into the collective consciousness. And how did I tell you these spirits talk to you? Through your mind and emotions. I just told you this. And some people got these spirits, jumping out of them each and every day. They're not even aware of what's taking over them or questioning what they're doing. Okay? There are aspects of reality that resist order, that rebel against divine harmony, that seek to maintain separation and illusion. As you see, this is profound shadow work that is being done along with assistance with integration. Without integration, the practitioner is accessing higher and lower archetypes within their consciousness without proper integration. So that is what's happening there. He's doing this to control these demons. That's not the right way to do it. This is the most rewarding part of shadow work, is the integration, the acceptance of self. You just accept, yes, I have this in me. And thank you for showing me who you are and where you are. I thank you so much for being here. Yeah, you probably helped me when I was in survival mode and I was not aware. I am aware now. I no longer need your assistance. That's how you have to do that. Okay? I know if I need your assistance, if I need your help, you know, I'll let you know. But hey, that was the best thing. I didn't know any better. Now that I know better, I can do better. Okay? Because this subjugate again, accepting that part of yourself. And so what you see with this Abrahamic religion too, a lot of them want to deny this darker part of themselves. You can see that in the church as well. They don't want to look at their thinking. And we can go on and on with the things they do that don't make sense. And and doing magic, and that's all they doing in the church. And then you explain it to these people, a denial. Okay, and this is something they need to sit down and look at. That this is true shadow work. That's why I say you have to dispel them spirits and not get them power over you. I think the most beautiful thing for me when I was doing working through my shadow work, and I had a partner. I think we were in the fourth phase of that program, but I was just like, I'm ready to strip everything. I started stripping everything down to my bones. And was it scary? Yes, it was scary. I had to write down everything. To me, it was cleansing me. I wrote down everything that I had did to other people. I felt like I did wrong to them. Like every little thing I did wrong in my life, I wrote it down. I didn't like and that was heavy stuff. Okay, but those are the things that I felt like that was holding me back and giving shame power over me. I didn't like that shame having that power over me. I didn't like that. Being embarrassed, being ashamed, I want to share that that was raggedy, and I didn't want to, I know I did it, sense in denying it. I want to be forgiven for it. I want to be free of this. And so I wrote all this stuff down, and boy, was it scary because I thought the person, uh, my partner, I thought her reading this, she was gonna be horrified by all the stuff that I did. I thought she was gonna be like, "Oh my God, you just a freaking damn mess. You just raggedy." I just thought she was gonna judge me. And this is where having a therapist or a life coach or some group, a healing group that holds space for you that don't judge you because they understand your pain, they understand these wounds, so they're able to hold a space for you. They can, opens the door to so much healing and so much light. And so I got to telling her, everything I had done that was raggedy. I'm just reading down the line, and as I'm reading, I'm just bawling, crying, like, oh my God, this is horrible. But at the same time, I was freeing myself. It's such a boy, I can't tell you. I want to cry about it right now. I can't tell you how it feels. And you feel it in your body. This release happens in your body. You better believe it. A release happens in your mind and body. And I can feel that release happening. And after I complete that, I mean, I was bawling. I didn't even want to, see the expression on her face after I said all this horrible stuff I had done and released myself from all of that. It's almost like a confession. It is. It will purify your soul. It will purify you. It'll strip you down bare bones and give you a new slate. It will. It will change you when you actually got to confess everything you have denied about yourself, the darkest part. You actually saying this with your mouth, your behaviors, the things that you don't like. Uh, it really is when you say this out loud. And so when she finished hearing me, she just laughed, and I was like, "What is going on here? Why are you laughing?" She said, "Cause I said the same thing when I did my release. It was like I don't know." She said, "You didn't know any better." That light that came in there, uh, you can tell something spiritual happens in that, when you're doing that type of work. It was like a higher force was working through her, like giving me the medicine that I really do need. That's why I said therapist and another person is needed. because you need someone to stand up in the gap and be able to bring that light into you, because that is heavy work. It is. Okay. She's like, You were by yourself." She said, "What I heard you know, you were a kid when this happened, and da 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 this. So how would you know this? You know, and everything she said was right. And how could I believe all this stuff without really looking at myself?" You get somebody who truly looks at you and tells your story back to you, and the compassion. Woo! Try not to cry. Try not to cry. Excuse me. The compassion that opens up right there is unbelievable. And the feeling that you have, you can tell the I just want you have to feel it. You have to experience this. And a lot of people don't like that kind of freedom. They don't want to go in there and do that kind of work. But I can't emphasize to you how important that work is and how light you feel after you release those things. And guess what? Them things ain't got no power over you. They ain't got no power over you no more. Them things that was holding you back, you get your spiritual authority back, and them folks got to move up out your way. Okay, you'll start seeing it in your family. Your authenticity, you be your true self. Cause yeah, you get your freedom back. You get a free slate. It really feels like being reborn again. You're not gonna let anyone tarnish that slate. Okay, I mean it's the highest form of mayat. I can say this is real work, and a lot of people is not ready to deal with that. But it's very rewarding. It is very rewarding, and you get a chance to take yourself back and step into your true self, your Christ self, the self that you were meant to be before these, we were all these traumas and false beliefs, just downright quite naturally spirits that were put in us through trauma and all these other things that we experience. That's what that is. Okay, so I recommend, I invite you, don't skip that part of yourself, because that's where your authority, that's where your sovereignty and divinity, that's where you're going to find it. When you stop trying to avoid yourself and sit with yourself. And one thing I know about people of color, we don't like looking at our emotions. We like to suppress it. We like to act like we don't have these feelings, especially women of color. Yes, this is totally spiritual, because if your emotions, you can't um again express your emotions, own your emotions, identify them, and use them in a way to empower yourself. you know Only so far you're going to get with this. Okay. And I know most of us, because I'm going over this again, the healing is going to be necessary. When we look closely at the Book of Abramelin, it becomes clear that this system is not just about ritual. It is an intense descent into the depths of the self. What Aberline outlines is a form of extreme shadow work, one that pushes the practitioner into direct confrontation with both the highest and lowest aspects of their consciousness. That's what's going to happen there. Okay? They right, go ahead and own it. Everybody got, I think one thing in our group that we all got in common, once we start looking at ourselves, we all had feelings where we really wanted to hurt someone. Nobody wants to say that. Them people made me want to hurt them. But all of us have this in us. All of us have that type of archetype in us. Okay? Somebody take us to that point that is activated within us. We like to say, "Oh, we don't have this in us." Yes, we do. And attached to each one of those emotions is a spirit, or what they may call a demon. Through months of isolation, prayer, and discipline, the practitioners is stripped of distractions, forced inward. In that space, the mind begins to reveal itself fully. Okay? Not just the elevative thoughts, not just the sense of clarity or divine connection, but also the hidden patterns, the fears, the impulses, and the conditioned behaviors that normally remain beneath awareness. This is where the work becomes intense because the practitioner is no longer operating on the surface of the mind. They're entering the deeper layers of the subconscious. Why do you do that? Why are you triggered by that? Why does that make you mad? Why do you eat so much? Okay. Why are you so obsessed with this person? Why do you think you need someone? You get to really start asking yourself questions and start really paying attention to your mind. You become the driver of the mind, really the observer. Okay, you're able to see things at a higher perspective as well. And seeing the things at a higher perspective like that, you're gonna see everything. And if you I tell people stay the observer, don't judge yourself. Look at yourself when you start doing this and say, I wonder where that comes from. Don't start, and I think that's where most of the people make they go into spiritual psychosis because you want to judge the behavior. You want to, you know, judge it and then start denying it, don't want to look at it. No, accept that this is happening, look at it, call it out, and slowly start addressing it and talking to it. Sit down and learn from it. Where did it come from? Looking at the root, where that wound come from. Is it attached to a wound? You become an observer. We're not judging ourselves. We are studying ourselves, seeing what's going on. Why do we have that there? Why are we doing this? That's when the intuition is going to become heightened. That's when you're going to be coming in contact with these higher spirits, okay? These angels. That's what I recommend that you do this with archangels. To don't do this alone. Aberline was doing this alone. I don't recommend that for you. It can be scary to go inside your mind by itself, especially if it's sick. You don't know what you're gonna find in there by yourself. That's why it's important that you're talking to other people, helping you address this. I remember one time we were in a meeting. It's a trip how people deal with their own demon. But I remember this one lady, she was sharing, and she said, "Hey, uh, the way she called her other self, the one that causes chaos in her life." She said she got up and she wanted to do all kinds of stuff, but you know what I did to her? And we were like, "What did you do?" She said, "I put her ass on a treadmill." So every time she started wanting to do stuff, I imagined that she was on a treadmill, just doing. This is the way she was dealing with this form of her behaviors, her darkest part of herself. She was again subjugating this spirit or thoughts or these behaviors. She imagined her other self on a treadmill every time she wanted to engage in these bad behaviors. Okay. This is when you're truly looking at yourself. Okay, you say you want power. You say you want to learn how to do all these things. This is what we're doing. Most of these spirits, when they come to us, they're coming through us through our consciousness. We can see them on an astral plane in our mind. That's why I have to ask people, what really is the mind? A mind is a whole total different space where you can see other beings and contact other beings. And what you're doing with your mind, you're making magic with your mind, going to another space in another dimension. That's the fourth dimension, changing things. And there are living things, words, spirits, and energies that's in that astral realm. And you got to be careful up there. Are y'all ready for this? You know, if people say they want power, and then they go into working with some of these spirits and they lose their mind. Okay, they lose their mind, or they get somewhere and they're doing this work, and all of a sudden they reach a wall. Okay, they reach a wall. They don't understand why the wall is there. They can feel a little, when they sometimes they need to step back and do a little this work right here, and then approach it again. Okay. Within the Aberline framework, this inner polarity is symbolized through the holy guardian angel and the so called demons. The angel represents the highest aspect of conscious clarity, alignment, divine intelligence, and spiritual authority. The demons represent the darker, unrefined, and often unconscious aspects of the self. These are not random forces, but deeply embedded patterns that exist beyond the ordinary awareness. Okay. How you doing, Tina? So they are there. Okay. You may not know why they're there, but they are there. I can say, I'm gonna give you an instance with me. And you'll have these patterns once you start doing these work, these you'll get good synchronicity, but you will have some of these, and these are practitioners that occultists that was doing this work, they saw it too. You're gonna rattle those demons, they're gonna be mad, you're gonna start seeing synchronicities that have a strange way of manifesting themselves in your reality, and it's kind of scary when you see it. Okay, when you start seeing it, do not be alarmed. Because a lot of them, when they can't touch you anymore and you're not influenced by them anymore, they'll jump into people and work through people. Okay? They will work, and people are not aware. And these, again, they were able to take advantage of us when we're not aware. Now that we are aware, they can't do that anymore. Okay, they don't have any power, but they tend to want you back in the fold. It's almost like a network, an unaware network. And when someone leaves the network, they try to get you back to sleep. Okay, it's strange when you see it. Like I think the most closest thing to understanding this is when you look at Fallen with Denzel Washington in it. That is a great example of how you see these spirits jump from people to people. And you saying, "Oh, how are they doing it? They're doing it. The the collective consciousness is already there. These people are unconscious of it, so they're able to use their lack of awareness to their advantage to work through people. They're not unaware of it. They don't know why they do the things that they do. You're seeing that now. You're seeing regular people now, and then you're seeing regular people support other regular people, and you be like, why is y'all doing that? Why is you supporting the hurting other people? Why are you doing that? It don't make no sense to people that have empathy, that are aware. It makes absolute no sense to us why you would be doing this to other people like that. Why you would be doing some horrible stuff like that. Hey, time shifting army. Okay, it makes no sense to us. It makes absolutely no sense at all. But to them, because they lack awareness and they feed their lower natures, this makes perfect sense to them. And it's horrifying to us because we're living in a higher self-awareness, and that's not where they want to go. They are there to gratify uh their lower selves. They are not there to ascend at all. They don't want unity because unity would mean ascension. It would mean going into the light. And if they do want unity, they're there. You're going to do it in the way, in the lower, again, a lower self type of way, a regress sort of way. That's what they want. You're seeing it now with your own eyes. Okay. It's astounding to me. It's hard for me to watch what's going on in Iran. I got to use that for an example. And then looking at too, the African Union was talking about chattel slavery. So I'm gonna give it to you from this example, and it's appalling to me that these people are doing this. Okay, so you got the U.S. and Izzy saying, "Hey, you're calling Iran a terrorist, but Iran didn't drop anything on you. They didn't touch you. They didn't do anything to you. Went over there and did stuff to these people, unalive them, and now you're making them look like they're the terrorist and you're the victim." And what it does to me when I'm seeing this, because we know it's not right. A lot of us that are aware, we know this is not right, and we know the history of the U.S. and we know the history. We know what Israel been doing over there to those people with the ethnic cleansing and all that sort of crazy crap. We see that. And then we see these other countries be sympathizers, especially these European nations be sympathizers with the U.S. and Israel, NATO and UN, having set those people down not one time. It's crazy. Okay, it is crazy. And then they vote on the fact, was chattel slavery on indigenous people of the worst Holocaust of all times. And now we have the African Union, the people that sold the people, which I don't. Why do you think the U.S. owe you money? Because some of them people y'all gave away, y'all let it happen. Okay, so if you're gonna be suing anybody, you probably need to sue yourself, and you need to look at these other countries that were all also European countries that benefit from the slave trade, and some of these people came into y'all countries and colonized them, and you ain't going after them, but you gonna go after the U.S. Y'all, it makes no sense, and it's the audacity, and we're looking at them saying the audacity, like y'all are And who voted against this? Who said, "Oh, this wasn't the greatest Holocaust in humanity"? The U.S. and Israel, they voted against that. They said they didn't think it was a Holocaust. That's telling you a lie. Why is this happening? It's appalling. It is. It's appalling when you look at that. And we're looking at it like, hey, that is wrong. Like, y'all know what you did to us was wrong. We're steady pleading with it. What are we pleading with? Okay. These are the You think you're looking at these people or a country or whatever. You're looking at a whole organization that is under the influence of these lower, again, these spirits that's associated with greed, that associated with, look at the nature of what they do. Okay. In Iran, you know, they don't want light there. They want to be able to subjugate Iran. And Iran said no. And what does Iran do? They're subjugating those demons. Iran is not playing with them. I know you don't look at it that way, but they have been able to subjugate everybody in the world, make everybody else rotten, and they want to go in there and they want to do that to Iran, and Iran say, "No, I won't let you do it." And they're mad. That's how them spirits get. They'll start working through other people trying to destroy you, trying to get you back in the net. trying to get you to react. Okay, trying to tarnish you again. You think that's your mama, your sister, or your daughter? No, it's the thing that's working through them. So your relationships will be tested. You will go into spiritual warfare. I don't think you won't go into spiritual warfare. I think people are not prepared for this when they start doing this kind of work and getting their divinity back in their sovereignty. Them spirits are going to be mad. Some of them because you're not in the fold. You're not giving your energy to that anymore. You're stirring in your divinity. Those spirits will be upset. So you will go into spiritual warfare. That is why, I tell you, get those spiritual bells popping, learn protection. Uh, you know, before you even start doing any work, get your house protected. Lay your salt down. Get your horseshoe together. Get you a chicken foot. Get you a mojo bag. Get your protection and stuff going first before you start, going full fledged with your work. That needs to happen first too. Everything needs to be fortified. Your house need to be fortified. Your spirit need to be fortified. You got folks running in at your house, your husband, your children. Protection need to be on them folks before you start picking up things. Because you don't need no spirit having nor doorway to come in your house. Did that make sense? Yep. You need to be totally fortified in mind, body, and spirit. Okay. And so you have this Aberline that's doing his magic like this. He is opening up. Again, he wants to subjugate these demons. But when you try to subjugate and deny something like that, and see, that's what you're having, uh, that's going on with these people. Okay. But when you do something like that and you don't integrate, you can find yourself in a pickle because the very thing that you subjugate will subjugate you. Okay. It will misunderstand you. It will not give you mercy or grace or anything like that. And now you know you're saying, well, Miss Penny, what you mean make friends with the demons? The demons is not your problem. Self mastery is your problem. Okay? Self mastery is your problem. Don't be so focused on it. They have they eat what you understand is demons, you know, what you understand is demons is going to really when you start looking at yourself, then you start to really understand demons. Okay? Because all of this is psychological. They have their place. Okay? But then you don't give them power over you either. Okay? We do this by staying aware, looking at what you are capable of doing. Anybody is capable of hurting somebody and unaliving somebody. And whether you doing it with good intentions or bad intentions, you still gonna have that strike on your soul, depending on how you gonna deal with it. Okay. A good example of this is when you look at I think a great example of this is when you look at the samurai. They took a lot of people's lives. Okay. Soldiers. Yeah, well, I'm gonna use them at example because that seems more honorable when I use the samurai because I love that show. So when they went in and they were unaliving people, they went into wars or whatever. They didn't have PTSD or any regrets with that because they looked at themselves like divine beings. They looked at themselves as a force, and they embraced who they was. Uh, what I remember one of them said, what did he say? He said something to the point where if you hadn't did what if you were who you were or whatever, why would God send a punishment such as me? He embraced who he was because he knew he went there to, end that man. But he also knew I have divine authority. You got angels like that too. You got angels like that too. And they come in and put in their work. They're gonna put in their work. You got some angels that'll wear you out. You think it's a demon on you, but it be an angel on you whooping you down. Okay. So you embrace that divine again, he embraced his divinity. I think that was a great example of that. So it does have its place. Okay. So what we want to do, we want to understand it. And once you know it, understand them too, they know when you can see them. It seems like that's when they kick up the most. And you look crazy. You look crazy trying to explain this to other people because they looking at you crazy because you are aware and they don't understand how these spirits work. So they're going to be calling you crazy. But these spirits know that you can see them. Okay, that's why they know they can see you because they'll constantly be trying to antagonize you to get your reaction, get your emotional reaction. Okay, they love your emotional reaction. They do appalling things just to get your emotional reaction. That's how they feed. Some of them. Okay. So when you start doing this shadow work, if you really doing this kind of work and you're dispelling these spirits and you again, these are behaviors too that you see people do. Say that you got a family that gossip all the time. They love putting their mouth on people. You just love gossip. Okay? Your family members, when they wouldn't tell you nothing, now they want to tell you everything. They want you gossiping now. You instead of telling them, I don't want to hear about that. They get mad because you don't want to gossip with them. Everybody mad at you. Now you evil. It's crazy how everybody is mad at you. Now you the evil one. And that's really what happens in the family too. When you become awake and you start seeing, you start healing on yourself and you start seeing these little illnesses in your family where your family need to be healed and you start bringing light to it. Expect for your family to get mad at you because them spirits gonna be mad at you. How dare you won't go into denial? We liked it better when you were sick. Now you the heal and now you think you better than somebody else. That's how them spirits gonna act. That's what that is. And you looking, my mama hate me now. I done got so much better. I'm getting better. But my family don't like me now. No, they won't like you. And I don't understand. Am I the problem? You're absolutely the problem because you're stopping the sickness. Okay, you're the medicine, and medicine is nasty when you first get it. Don't nobody want to take no, medicine. Sometimes that medicine be bitter, don't taste good. Okay, you might as well go ahead and accept that you're gonna be that problem, and you just not letting them feed off you like that anymore. You are asserting yourself. Some spirits are gonna be mad. They're gonna be upset. So expect spiritual warfare. No, everything ain't gonna be no love and light and all that stuff. When you get over here, don't you better be learning spiritual warfare and taking them spiritual baths and be on top of your psalms and have your mind right, okay? Because them spirits I'm telling you. And if people think over here it mean no. And that's just like them Christian people, if they truly Christian and they practice their religion, they know what spiritual warfare look like because them spirits gonna be after them. Okay, it's gonna be through unhealed people, people that's unaware, that's doing regular stuff, and it ain't gonna make no sense to you. But believe me, what I've noticed about these spirits that be into people, they will give you an indication. I'm trying to find a way to say this. They'll give you some kind of clue or indication. They're specifically targeting you, and this person be unaware, what's going on. You might be aware what's going on. I think the thing that I like to do is ask people why. You can tell. Start asking them why. Don't get mad when they get mad. Say why is this? Start asking why. Why are you so obsessed with me doing such and such and such and such? And just listen to their response. Try not to get, let them trigger you into anger. Ask them why. Why do you feel entitled? Why do you feel why are you doing that? And you will really start to these spirits that started reveal themselves in these people, because nobody really stops takes the opportunity to ask why when they're engaging. They can get you, antagonize you, and there you go, you get reactive and you're going back and forth. Try not to go back and forth with them. Ask them why they are doing that. Why are where is this behavior going from? Because I'm trying to understand. That's gonna let you know what you're dealing with. Try not to engage. Stay calm and ask them why the behavior. Why are we interacting like this? What is the reason for this? Okay? Because these spirits they don't like calmness. They don't like logic. Again, they work out of chaos. Does that make sense? Okay, that's how it's gonna act that into people. They have a funny way of manifest that will show their synchronicity and then you'll have too the light part of your shadow work when you start asking uh your spirit guides, your angels, and your ancestors for signs. They start pulling up on you with big signs. So like I said, it's a two-edged sword. Okay, that's why I say you need to learn spiritual warfare, because them spirits are going to be angry because that you're not in the net anymore. Expect that. They try to delay your progress. Yep. That's why you got to be on top of your spiritual baths. Kind of watch how you interact with people, and look at other people's interaction, because some people are under the influence that they don't even know. Okay. Uh, you know, look at how you're interacting, and really stay on top of that. If you a hoodoo, you in this true, you got routine baths. You're doing protection and saying psalms that protect you every day. You have, constant interaction with your elevated ancestors. So if you in this, you should be, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you should stay covered, because hoodoo is a way of life. And any type of work that you're doing, any magician for that matter, a practitioner that is a seasoned practitioner, they have things to keep them protected and safe at all times. They understand spiritual warfare. And it's a good idea to go ahead and start working on your family. Start giving them spiritual baths and stuff. When you start seeing them do regular stuff, start making stuff. That's time for you now to amp up your hoodoo, amp up your magic. Get them folks something to help them heal. Okay, because all y'all healing, and this is a allergic reaction to the healing that you get doing. I think that's a perfect term for that. There's going to be an allergic reaction to the shadow work. It's going to be a spiritual allergic reaction. Start giving them folks spiritual baths and stuff. Tell them that you love them. You was thinking about them and you just made them something pretty. Put them a little bath kit together with some candles. They don't got to know what it is for. You know what it's for. Okay? Put a little psalm, a little Bible scripture in there with them and give it to them. Tell I thinking about you. I love you. I was thinking about, we got into it the other day. Here this is for you. Be blessing them folks and helping them folks heal. This is how you amp up the hoodoo. They don't got to know what's wrong with them. Okay, they don't got to know what you're giving them. The other thing they got need to know is you love them and you're gonna give them this. Okay, you're gonna help them. You was thinking about them, and God put it on your heart to give them this, and pray for them. Okay, so that's the amp up your hoodoo when you start saying that when you go into spiritual warfare, because these things will be trying to work through your family and through your friends, and some of them altogether you might have to, uh, you know might have to eliminate them out of your life. You might not have a relationship with them, because some of these people are just totally unaware, and they just are determined to live off our life force and drain our energy. That's just how they gonna function. You have some people, they are just totally submissive to these things. They're just gonna be like that, and they're determined to drain your energy. And how dare you try to stop them from draining your energy? And some of them feel entitled because they're your mama, they're your sister, or your child. They feel entitled to do so. Okay, and it's not pretty. It's not always pretty. It can be painful. Okay, so a lot of self care, a lot of self love uh, goes on during this time. You'll be feeling, you'll be growing in your practice in every way. And all this growth don't feel good. That's what a lot of people don't like. They get scared and they run back over there. Oh my gosh, I'm in spiritual warfare. Oh, and then you go back over there to church and then it's still being spiritual. And what trips me out, this is an indication to me, though. It tripped me out. They said, I got into this right here and I was in spiritual warfare and I went back to the church and it stopped happening. What? You did exactly what they wanted you to do then. If they ain't bothering you no more. If they not, them spirits still ain't after you. You in the wrong place. They bothering you because you in the right place. What the hell? Now they ain't bothering you no more. Cause you ain't no threat. You ain't no threat as long as you ain't gonna tap into your power and you ain't gonna take control of yourself. Nah, you ain't no threat. You was a threat when you got over there because they know you was finna make a difference. You finna make some shake and move. That's when they own you because evidently you got something powerful. Your destiny is it must be something powerful that if you are under attack like that, don't take that as I'm gonna be scared. Say, oh shit, I got something in me. I better go in even deeper because honey, they trying to stop me. I must got some hell of a power. That's the only reason. What go look at the Matrix. They were trying to stop Neo. Everybody was trying to stop Neo. Mr. Smith and all that. Neo had the juice. Neo kept going. He beat the system. Them spirits don't like that. They want to get you back in the programming. Long as you're in the programming, no, they're not gonna mess with you. But start to wake your ass up, boy. All kind of hells, bro. You, Mr. Smith, you see all types of Mr. Smiths coming on. All them spirits jumping in and out of them people. Okay? And that girl go back to church and say, they I ain't had no issue. No, you ain't had no issue because you went back in the programming. You went back into that programming. You ain't no threat to nobody. Don't get scared when they do that because they can't touch you. The thing is to antagonize you, to scare you, to get you back into the program. Yeah, you're gonna be under spiritual warfare. That come with that. Them spirits see you because they know you see them. They're not that their behave those behaviors and stuff that you used to participate in. They have no more access to you because you're not participating in behaviors anymore. You're not giving them a door to come in and subjugate you or to feed off you. Okay? Just know to keep yourself protected and ask your family why when you see this going on. If you can, if you're on good terms, give them folks something to do. Give them a nice little beautiful, smell good spiritual bath with some cute little candles with a little song. They're gonna love that. Okay? Who ain't gonna love that? They're gonna sing, they're gonna say that little poem or they say that little song or whatever. They're gonna be so happy that you gave it to them. Okay? That's when you amp it up on those spirits. That's when you amp up that self-love. You're gonna have to, and it's gonna be hard. It is, and I see some people they get on the work. Y'all on these jobs, honey. I got one girl over there. I feel so my heart just honey. When she talk about it, she said, Miss Penny, I'm on this job and honey, these people they supposed to be Christians and they regular as they want to be. So I see them things run, and that should be running rapid in them because they don't want to deal with themselves. They want to blame everything on the devil, but the devil is in you. You the one letting the devil want to run loose in you with your judgment and all this kind of stuff, pointing your finger and stuff. A devil is an accuser, and y'all always in a judger. That's what you is. You becoming the very thing you say you don't want to be like. Okay, and you see them people up there like that on their job, huh? You have to be. You know, get your hoodoo together and be loud with them things. Call it out. People may look at you crazy, but honey, you have to say it sometimes, honey. And she started laughing at me. I said, honey, I'm serious. You have telling people, honey, I be in my car because I be staying prayed up. Because I be seeing these spirits jumping in and out these people. Them people gonna look at you like you crazy, but they gonna leave you to hell alone. Say, now I go to my car and I go pray for myself. Because I see these spirits coming in, jumping in and out of these people all the time like that. And I don't like them around me, so I stay prayed up. I go to my car, and honey, I got my holy water and my oil, and I oil myself down because I don't want to have myself in none of this stuff up here. I see these spirits, but they ain't got to know. These spirits inside them know what the hell you talking about. Because you know what? They're gonna get the hell away from you. They ain't gonna know why they doing it. Call them damn things out. You understand me? You got that going on in your job. You can quietly state that and stay. You ain't got look. You get in here, you're gonna be a lot by yourself. You might as well get used to it. You don't think you better than nobody, but you don't want them things jumping out for in and out of you. You don't know what them people got going on with them. You know what you got going on with you. You trying to keep your light. You trying to keep your stuff right. Get yourself from among them. And even when they start coming to you with stuff, them things get strong in there. You start saying this stuff out loud. They might not know, look at you crazy, but them things inside them know exactly what the hell you talking about. You understand me? You call it out, okay? And most of them people, they're gonna stay away from you. Now don't mess with him or her, cause honey, they be at their car praying, honey. Them folks don't say nothing to nobody, honey. Can't get them to in nothing. Uh-uh. You go to talking to them, they go talk about spirits. Mm-mm. I don't believe no, don't gossip with them because them people they be going to their car praying and they don't like dealing with stuff like that. They don't stay away from you. Go ahead and set that boundary with them regular things, okay? And they might make fun of you. They can do whatever they want to do. But that right there, you done stated your boundary right there. As long as you have stated your boundary and you go in there with your protection, they ain't gonna do nothing but cross themselves up messing with you. Cause you done already let them know I don't play like that. Don't come near me. As I know you got these spirits jumping in and out of people, and I be at my car and I be praying for y'all up in here because I see these spirits jumping in and out of people. Oh, they gonna call you crazy, but who cares? You know what the hell you see. I do have that going on in my job. I'm telling you, get somewhere by yourself. I went to break by myself, ate lunch by myself, and that those spirits don't like that either. Cause I had a few that got mad. I said, honey, I do this because I pray for myself. I have to go by myself and keep my mind in the right place. I'm not doing it to be funny, y'all. I do that because my mind. Okay? I do this for my mind. I have to be by myself. I have to stay prayed up. Talk to them just like that. They'll leave you alone, get out your face. Okay? You're going to separate yourself. You a light among them. And before you know it, them people will be coming to you, and you'll start healing people at your job. They'll be coming to you with all their problems. And before you know it, you a healer on your job. You have to, state your authority with them. Okay? You ain't got to be funny, but you state your authority because you're going to stay clean and spiritually protected. That was going on at my job for 2 years until I started getting them back. People were calling me crazy. Yes. Okay, you got to state your authority. Let them things know you ain't gonna play with them like that. You ain't got to be ugly, but you better go in there with your spiritual authority and with some sense. And they all the time they'll be thinking, "Ooh, that woman Christian." You ain't no, you ain't bit more Christian. You just spiritually aware. They'll see that holiness on you. Okay. But you got to call them things out, because if you don't, them things they'll have you out. And you think before you know, you'll be dragged into something that it ain't even like that. Something that ain't made up in their mind. I had a girl like that in my job. I had to nip that in the bud real quick. I said, baby, they ain't never like that. I don't know where you got that from. Okay, but this no, I don't even entertain thoughts like that. Okay. So you'll see it. Yeah, you're gonna be in spiritual warfare. So expect that. It'd be a shocking to me if you was doing this and wasn't in spiritual warfare. Because if everybody getting along with you and everything is just so peachy and all this stuff with everybody, then let me know. Oh, wait a minute, you need to go look at this again. Are you actually doing the work? Okay, it's not gonna be pretty. Sometimes it ain't. All them things start running loose in your neighbors and all that kind of stuff. You start doing this kind of work. I'm telling you now. And then you'll have beautiful things that happen when you start going up to your altar. Things will start shifting and changing and all that stuff in your best interest. But at the same time, you got these adversaries, these things that's mad. Hey, Black Magic Mike, they mad too because you ended this power when you ain't in the net no more. I hope I'm breaking this down to you where you can understand it. Okay? So you get your power back too. That's how you know you're doing it right. Keep doing it. Because them things is not going to be happy. Okay? Because now you're tapping into a power that they were taking advantage of. They were stealing from you through this other stuff. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. What is important to understand is the Aberline method does not focus on integration. Okay, I just said that. And this is exactly why practitioners struggle to complete the Aberline operation. And like I told you, he was going so extreme with this because of the lack of integration. And what was happening in there, like I just said, these men was going in there with this extreme sort of shadow work, and these demons started manifesting themselves in nightmarish synchronicity. It scared them. Okay, but at the same time they were seeing their having this manifestation of their holy guardian angel. I do not recommend, people have taken this, and our ancestors looked at it too. They have taken this, which is helpful. I'm not saying the ritual is not helpful. It is helpful, but it should be approached not in this extreme. Okay, not this is not. I don't recommend this because this could be shocking, uh, and it can throw you, into a psychosis. Okay, the process is extreme. It demands prolonged discipline, isolation, psychological endurance, but more importantly, it lacks a structured emphasis on balance and integration. There's not going. He's just going full fledged, just going cold turkey. None of this. Do you know how much that sends the body and the mind into shock? You going into isolation, just totally. Do you know that could be a lot for the mind and the body? Okay, you'll start to see that once you start peeling these things back and have to deal with your own shadow and how you approach them. Okay. When someone is pushed into deep shadow work without the tools to process and integrate what they uncover, the experience can become overwhelming. Many occultists begin the process but cannot sustain it, not because they lack ability, but because the method itself requires a level of inner stability that is difficult to maintain under such intensity. Everyone that, most of the occultists that try to do this the way Aberline told them to do it, they could not complete this. They could not complete it. It is too extreme. And the more you try to subjugate those spirits like that, they're going to manifest themselves, just like your guardian angel is, it manifests itself in its physical form. You'll start to see these spirits do that. You'll start seeing things. That's why you got some people that start seeing things. They start seeing their own demons. No, they not crazy. They need to get somewhere and sit down and integrate. Okay, it happens. And so you'll see that in many, you'll see it, read it in your materials yourself. You'll see many of them abandon the work. And not to say they didn't benefit from it, it was just too extreme. Okay, because Aberline was making this he was doing this to access power. And when you do stuff like this to access power, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of dangers that's gonna be involved with it. And that's what you're seeing here. There's a lot of dangers involved with doing this kind of work. That's what you're seeing there when you see people, abandon it and they come in contact with, you know, with the demon, with themselves. And it's horrifying for them to see that. And of course, you're looking at, I also want to bring up the fact that these are patriarchs. And so I have to bring up the part too. They are just not, they're just beginning to understand the power of their mind and how it works. And so the patriarchs, they are looking for power in their spiritual system, not so much of growth and healing, but they're looking for power. That's what you're going to see over and over again. You see that with Solomon too. I can't wait till we get into that next week. That's going to be real juicy for you guys because we're going to be covering Solomonic magic again from a different approach. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy that. But that's what's happening here. Most of these patriarchs and most of these occultists, what they're getting into, they're not using for healing, development, uh, growth, or anything like that. They're using it for power. And when you do that, it'll run you into making pacts with spirit, pacts that you don't want. We're seeing that with the ATRs. Okay. You're going over there and you're being with getting, going into an ATR. They are doing the sacrifice, spilling, you know, with the animal. Okay. And so with these deities, to these deities, so now it is a pact. And so with the pact, there is agreement, a contract. And now you have to serve these spirits in a sort of way that you have made the pact about it. This is agreement. And when you don't honor the pact, it can have repercussions. It can create chaos in your life. And then there you go, because you're not feeling understanding it, what it's all about. You're constantly now having to go to the priest, the priestess, to do all these ebos and all this stuff to get you back in alignment because you haven't been able to properly serve these spirits. That's what goes on there. Okay. The same thing when you go on and you're working doing any sort of love people, they want to do hex work. I have to talk about this. You have to do hex work. You will love doing cursing work, but when you are accessing this type of emotion and this thinking, what spirit are you working with? You may not have called that spirit name or called it forth, but the energy and behavior that you're working in, you're giving the spirit the doorway to work through you. Whether you have invoked it with your words or not, you're invoking it with your behaviors and your thinking. So you giving that spirit a doorway to work through you. So all these people that love to do hexing and all that stuff, and people put people in the pot, and they doing Hoodoo 101, where people tell them to do stuff on the internet. I just thought the other day. I just saw this the other day. You're telling people to go out and do things, say a psalms, and do all this thing. That you don't know if they got an ancestor altar or nothing inside. You don't. That's not being emphasized there. You're just gonna start telling them stuff, and now people think that this is how this go. They don't have to have an ancestor altar. They don't have to do any work at all, and it's just not like that. Okay, so you really think about that when you're starting to do, because these again, when you go to hexing, and you have some people, they know exactly how to hex. They know how to get justice work. They work specifically with the angel to get the work done. They're not going in there blind just saying and doing stuff. They know exactly what angel or demon to work with to hex and cross people up. Okay? They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what spirit they're accessing to go in there and do that. But here you are, you're doing it. You don't know the names. You're going in there because you're emotionally hurt and scarred, and you mad and you jealous and now you want to hex and curse people because somebody done showed you something. You have no idea what spirit is working through you to get that work done. You're just gonna let these emotions and things control your mind, control your mind and all this stuff. And you're just gonna go in and start doing stuff. You have no idea of what spirit is working through you to do the work. And then you find you start having all this crazy bad luck and all this stuff, and you wonder what's going on with you. And this is what's going on with you. Okay? Be careful about people wanting to show you stuff. Raggedy Ann and Andy. Yep. So be careful what people want to show you things. They want to show you a spell. They want to show you how to do work. But do you really understand the practice? What kind of spiritual life do you have? Okay. And when it does work, okay, now what you gonna do? How you gonna keep this going? Just something to think about, you guys, because all of this is psychological as well. It's gonna impact you. Okay. Shadow work, in truth, is not meant to be rushed or forced. It is said this chaos is necessary to properly channel and command spirits, not to be influenced by them. That's going to happen if you subjugate them. Okay? I do agree. The shadow work is necessary to help identify the psychological, emotional influences of human behavior. I agree with that. I agree with that. However, this work is so intense, it creates a sort of a paranormal experience in one's life. The demons can create a synchronicity of misfortunes. Whatever that is in your inner world will reflect your outer world. So they can create this, when you're trying to subjugate them. Okay? That's just like somebody on a diet. You're gonna tell yourself you're gonna tell yourself deny yourself chocolate cake, and you love chocolate cake. Okay, you love chocolate cake, and so now you're not being fair to yourself at all. Okay, you love chocolate cake, but in order to discipline yourself, you're just gonna deny this for yourself, and this whole time you're denying this to yourself, you're becoming more and more angry. You don't notice it. When you think this anger is your strength to resist the chocolate cake, okay? Because you are obsessed with chocolate cake. But guess what? The more you deny the chocolate cake, this anger builds inside of you. And you confuse this anger with maybe strength sometimes. And so now you got another problem. Yeah, you distance yourself away from the cake. But now you're kind of upset and angry that you had to do with that. Now you got to deal with that. See how that did, instead of saying, you know what? I like cake. I love this chocolate cake. I'm probably not going to eat that much chocolate cake, but guess what? I'm not going to deny myself this chocolate cake. I'm going to eat this chocolate cake once a week. I'm going to give myself chocolate cake. I'm going to have more control over it. I'm not going to deny myself this chocolate cake. But I'm not gonna eat this chocolate cake every day, even though I love this chocolate cake. See how you took control? You became disciplined and control. You became the controller of that. That's just like being mad. Yes, I am mad, and sometimes I like being mad. I'm just using this for an example. I love being mad. I love being the rage. I love being mad. But do I have to be mad every day? Do I have to be in a rage every day? What can I do with this rage in a healthy way that's going to serve me? Yeah, I need it. It came in handy when it did, but you know, I welcome it because I need it. But I don't have to control it, let it control me. What can I do that can give me let me own that, but also use it in a way that's going to help me grow. Okay, just stepping back from the thing. Not saying that it's not a part of you, because you can't dispel it from you. It is a part of you. Okay, and so what we have here with Aberline, you're trying to subjugate these things and say, hey, that's not a part of you. That is you. That's just like the shadow self. I don't want you to get rid of it. I want you to embrace it and understand it. Because it was meant that without your shadow self, no way you would have survived. You thank them. They help you. They help you survive. But you don't need them operating things anymore. You're the controller of that. You choose how you're going to respond. They have no control over you anymore. Okay? You get to choose. And you can place boundaries with that. Just like you have the Christian people say, the devil made me do it. No, you made a choice. Devil just didn't make you do that. You made a choice. You felt a certain kind of way. You let that emotion rule you, and you made a choice to do it and give it power over you. That's what happened there. Okay? So that's important, to slow it down. This part of Abermaline's sacred magic is actually one of the most fascinating and practical aspects of the systems. I thought this was the most fascinating thing when it comes to the inner these rooms that our ancestors had, these rooms where they did work at. And like I said, I've seen other practitioners have these rooms. They will have these sigils. We talk about sigils and pentacles in our community, and they will have whole rooms with sigils and pentacles and seals and stuff in it, where they do nothing but magic in this room. Okay, and they don't do anything. They do invocations and magic. They do all their magic in this room. And in that room, again, this room is holding a lot of psychic energy. And you'll start to see this on your altar too. Your altar is going to be start holding a lot of psychic energy. Even in your house, if you're doing it in a room in your house, that room in your house is going to where you do all your invocations and all that stuff. The house is going to be holding some of that psychic energy. Even when you go to your altar, you're going to feel this. The more you do ritual, the more psychic energy that you build, the more magical energy that you build. Okay, the more power your tools have. That's why, again, you're building that ashe, and this takes a while on the physical realm. That's why you'll have sometimes it might take, depending on how strong your psychic energy is, how strong your ashe is. Sometimes people have immediate responses, spiritual responses. Sometimes it takes them days. Sometimes it may take people weeks. It just all depends on the psychic energy, the ashe that you hold. But one thing is for sure, if you are doing your ritual, you're doing your rituals regularly, going to that ancestors. The more often that you can go to your ritual, the more the quicker your spiritual experiences will happen, because you're building up ashe. Okay, I've had rituals that I had to do with angels, and I go by the angel hour. Every hour that they own, I go to that altar and I start working and working and working, invoking them, going into meditation, invoking them, and I do that for about a few days, and then so they start coming up in my dreams and giving me messages. Okay, because I've been working through them in meditation. I've been invoking them through meditation. I've been visualized talking to them. Again, you're training your mind to go into that magical realm, and before you know it, you'd have made a breakthrough, and now they're coming in through your dreams and stuff. Now, that's a good indication. You've made contact when you see them either changing your environment. Something happens right at that altar where you know that they're there, or they start coming up in your dreams. But ritual, consistent ritual is where it's going to happen. Okay. And at some point, you know, a lot of people, they want to do the spell. They think at some point you're going to work with a spirit. Okay. That's the only thing I can tell you. At some point you're going to work with a spirit. These rituals are helping you with that, especially when you're consistent with your ancestors. It happens more effortlessly if you have developed a relationship with your most elevated ancestors. You get that together first. And angels are, we put them in there too, angels and saints, because we know there's a lot of elevation and healing that needs to go on when you first start tapping into your psychic abilities. Okay. When the text instructs the practitioners to work in a designated room filled with sacred symbols, seals, and sigils, it is doing something very intentional. It is creating what we would call a charged environment, a space that is repeatedly exposed to a focused intention, prayer, and emotion and spiritual attention. You'll see that in the occult as well, in Freemason. They got a whole room where they're totally constantly doing rituals and things in. Okay. There's no windows or anything where you can look into that. That's why our ancestors had prayer closets. They didn't want you going in that prayer closet. You didn't know what was in that prayer closet. And if you did go in there, you felt a certain kind of way when you went in there. You knew that, it was an energy like, I'm not supposed to be in here. And some of them can tell when you done been in there. Some of them can go in that room and they can tell if somebody been in their closet or been in their prayer room. The energy will just seem off to them. Okay. And if you have the extra room, at your house or have a space to do that, I recommend it. But if you don't, fine, you can do it outside. Doing rituals outside is very powerful as well. Doing them outside on the ground is very powerful. Over time, the repetition begins to build. Every ritual performed in that room leaves an imprint. The prayers, the focus, the emotional intensity, the mental clarity, all of it accumulates. You'll see that too with some haunted houses. Again, they will record everything that happens in there. The walls, the room, everything. It's recording everything, holding all that psychic energy. You have houses that hold psychic energy that we call haunted houses because the intensity of the emotions, what happened in there, then the house holds that energy. Okay. This is what the text refers to when it says room becomes imbued or begins to feel alive. That room will begin to feel alive. When you walk in there, automatically you're going to be walking into a magical portal if you can dedicate a room to that. If not, you'll start feeling it at your altar. The more you work on your altar, the more elaborate it becomes. The altar becomes alive. I've done that. I looked up at that ancestor altar and it was alive. I was like, oh my gosh, the energy that was coming from it and the way it was drawing people into it. Okay. It was all the work and all that stuff I had did on there, all that I could feel it. Okay. It's not the room is literally alive in a physical sense, but that it becomes physically responsive. Okay. Okay. The moment the practitioners enter that space, their consciousness shifts more easily into a ritual state. And that is really why the altar is there. Your altar, when you go to your altar, you automatically know that you're going into a magical realm. Okay. You're already going to a spiritual realm. If you went there, if you've been doing a lot of rituals there, then your mind is automatically shifted there. And some people, they do this by ringing a bell too. You have some people have a bell or a rattle on their altar. What they're doing, they're shifting the reality, tuning them in. And you can tell when they shift because you can feel the air pressure in the room shift. You ever felt air pressure shift in the room? Okay. For me, I have a ringing, sort of a ringing of the ear, or it sounds like a TV has come on, like something sonic has walked in the room. I can tell when it's a shift. If you become sensitive to this, have you ever been somewhere and you say, "Wow, it sounds like a TV on," yet you don't hear a TV, but that sense of a TV being on? I don't know if I'm not even explaining it right. Okay, I can tell when someone has just turned on the TV because of a sound, a silent shift that happens when a TV is being turned on. I don't even know if that makes sense. Okay, I hope I'm explaining that right and that makes sense to you guys. But you'll start having that feeling. You can tell when that is going on, when there's some shifting going on. Okay, your focus becomes sharper. The connection to the holy guardian angel or higher consciousness feel more immediate. That's because the room has been conditioned through repetition to support that state. Okay, so everything, like when we say this in Hoodoo, everything is a lie. We believe this, okay? We study this. We've already went into animism, so you understand this. This is not unique to Aberlines. It's something you already see in Hoodoo as well. When you consistently work in an altar, pray in the same place, light candles, give offerings, speak to spirit, the space begins to hold energy. It becomes familiar, responsive, and easier to work in. You don't have to start from zero every time. The connection is already there waiting. Okay? I hear, feel it, sense it. I was a little girl when TVs are turned on. See, I can tell when one is turned on, and I have that same feeling. Like if I walk up to my altar, I'll get that same type of pressure shift or sound that comes in. And you can, if you don't have this, you can start training your subconscious, to do that shift or go into that spiritual realm with a bell. Because sometimes after you ring a bell, you can feel the shift. That spiritual shift happen. You'll feel it. You'll feel the air pressure change. Okay. And that's why you see a lot of people, they have bells. Okay. You see bells on that off altar. Sometimes you'll see a rattle. Okay. The seals and sigils in Aberline serve as a similar purpose. They act as anchors for intention and meaning. Each symbol represents a specific force, an idea, or function. Or by placing them in the room, the practitioner is surrounding themselves with symbolic language that continuously reinforces the purpose of the work. Over time, the subconscious begins to associate those symbols with specific states of awareness, making it easier to enter into deeper levels of focus. Okay, so that's why we're looking at the sigils. I think we covered that when it came to connecting with angels through sigils and seals and things. And we were showing you, we had a lot of rituals to help you do that. So we have, if you're interested in knowing more about that, we definitely have some resources there that talks about looking at these sigils and seals and connecting with those energies. Depending on your approach to this, everybody' approach is going to be different. Okay. When you return, when you return to the same space, perform the same action, you engage with the same symbols daily. You are training your mind. You are creating a pattern, and the brain responds to the pattern. But once it took effort to focus on, again, it's going to be almost natural or normal. That's why we got you going to the rituals. You need to be doing those as much as possible. Okay. That's part of what it means when the room becomes alive. Okay. From a deeper perspective, you could also say the room becomes a meeting point between the conscious and the subconscious mind. The repeated rituals open pathways internally, and the space itself becomes associated with those pathways. That's why invocation becomes easier over time. It's not just happening in the room, it's happening within you, and the room is reinforcing it. Okay. This is why consistency matters. not just what you do, but where you do it. Because eventually the space will begin to remember and respond. Okay? So making sure you have your altar, in a space where you're going to be comfortable for this energy in growing. With me, I had my altar right there in my living room. Okay? Because I wanted a kind of peaceful state in my house, depending on where you want your stuff. Okay? And then you have some people that just have a whole altar room, they have a whole room. And then you have some people that just got altars all over their houses. All over the house is an altar. Everywhere you look, it's an altar. And usually the altars bring more peace in the house, depending on your altar. Okay. But you got a lot of people that serve a lot of spirits, so especially in the ATRs. So that's gonna look different. The ritual requires for your holy guardian angel to be invoked first, because only through the divine connection does the practitioner gain the spiritual authority, the metaphysical leverage to command these chaotic forces without being consumed by them. The angel acts as an anchor, a connection to the divine order that allows you to venture into chaos and return safely. I do not recommend this. You can try it if you want to. It's just too many people that have tried this, and you have this whole book in our community. You can follow this if you want to, but people have tried to do it the way Aberline has suggested, and it's been overwhelming for them. Okay. Without the anchor, you are simply diving into an abyss with no rope to pull you back. You had people trying to take shortcuts too and try to access these demons and not do the purification work. And what they found is they became subjugated to those demons. Yeah, you got had people, just trying to go into their mind and access those demons like that, and they had to abandon it altogether, and some of them became subjugated to those demons because they were so greedy for power. You can't subjugate. You're not willing to do the purification, sanctification work, and them demons see that, and you be trying to have spiritual authority over them, and you faking and phony and stuff. They're gonna subjugate you. Okay. They know you faking and praying, playing, and so some of those occultists had to abandon that, and then some of them went in there just for that, just to make pacts with those spirits. And for you people in the conjure, there's conjure members, that's why I want you to slow down and really think about what you're doing. Have you did the psychological work? Because once you start conjuring to these spirits, you know that's going to be a part of you as well. They're going to be speaking to you through your mind, emotions, and things like that. Are you prepared for that? Have you done the work? And sometimes we think just because we have mastered a whole bunch of spells that we can move over to conjure and work with these spirits. But if you ain't got yourself together and these spirits see any kind of weakness in you, they would use that weakness against you and present you with a pact. And there you go, you done made a pact with a spirit, and now you got to keep serving this spirit in this capacity because they made you think the only way to access this power is to make a pact with them. This happened all too often to the greatest of the greatest. You seen a lot of that go. Some people are not interested in trying to grow their magic. They're more interested in the power. And then you have some of them that make pacts with demons. The same thing you see with that Lugal. They were explaining what a Lugal was. How do a Lugal come to be? And they were saying, hey, sometimes you have a person who wants this power so bad, or they need to save somebody, they go into a pact with the spirit. And now they have to do all these kind of horrible things, okay, because they've made a pact with this spirit. And they have access to this sort of power. That's where you can find yourself at if you get in there with them. And conjure is not hard. It's not hard at all. That's why you see so many people that want to work with demons. Not that demons is bad. Yes, they do have their place, but you have so many people want to work with them, and you have some people, they want power so bad, um, and they have so many weaknesses that sometimes they will make pacts with these demons, and it's easy, like they say, it's easy to get in trouble, but it's hard as hell to get out of. And these demons, they're more wiser than you. They know how to, uh, entrap you. They're crafty, very tricky. Okay, when you're looking at a demon, think of a demon like an attorney or a lawyer. You see how lawyers and attorneys, they lie, and then they come up with all these contracts that you can't read, you can't comprehend. They come up with all these words and stuff, these contracts, just like the music industry. These people signed this contract, they signed their life away, and they wanted all this fame and fortune, and they didn't know they was going to be all of that. The same thing with the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing. It's easy to find yourself in there. I just don't recommend doing it this way because his whole purpose, Aberline whole purpose, was to subjugate these demons. I just didn't see the reason for it. Like, we're supposed to be growing here. You're fishing for power. The reasoning, this didn't make any sense for me to approach this work and jeopardize yourself just for this power. Okay, and a lot of people tried to do this, and they had to abandon this because of the intensity of it. And shadow work just was not meant to be done that way. And I know you, and every time you unpeel uh parts of yourself, or you heal parts of yourself, of course you're going to be access to more power. Okay, your magic is going to improve in certain ways. Yes, that happened. Like I said, it's a byproduct. Healing is a byproduct. Every time you heal something, your magic get better. You get better and better at things. It's a byproduct. It's an exchange that happens there every time you level up. But he did it at such a fast rate. And if you do things too fast like that, it can happen so fast where you can hit a bottom, because there's no real integration going on of there. And so if you do it and take your time with it, the integration, it's much better with integration than the way Aberline is doing it. It's just not, and I'm not just talking. You can go, excuse me, you can go look at this for yourself. Many people tried to do it exactly the way Aberline did it, and these men, some of them went crazy. It's just not doable. It's not even realistic to do it that way. Okay, you got these patriarchs. They get in here with this knowledge, and they don't want to look at the other sides of themselves as well. We're seeing that right now. Got a man up there being raggedy and don't even want to see the regular stuff he doing. He just doing so wonderful. Everything is just going well. Everything is just perfect. We just doing you right. Same thing with pale face people. No, we're good to our people. We ain't did nothing wrong. No, we don't see racism. No, no, just denial, 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 denial. And then when you see it put in your face, you gonna try to gaslight everybody else because you don't want to look at reality. And your demons are getting louder and louder. They coming for you. Instead of just go ahead and tell the truth, and try to, uh, dismantle this power that you done gave to these spirits. You gonna give it even more power with your denial and lies, and just keep it up. That's what's going. That's just what's gonna happen there. Okay, so you had the patriarchs that were doing that, and then now you're trying to subjugate these demons, saying that, hey, there is nothing wrong with me. I have authority over you. Yes, you do have authority over them, but again, you're subjugating part of yourself and saying that you're separate from them when really these same demons that you're trying to expel out of you live within you as well. You do better to acknowledge that and integrate that than trying to subjugate them. And you're subjugating them for power. You're not healing, you're subjugating them. You're denying them their existence. And again, this goes back to the shadow part of yourself. You think this is not connected to your psychology. It is. It very much is. Okay. Again, why are we venturing into chaos? What is the purpose? The holy guardian angel has been successfully contacted. We can work with our holy guardian angel to help contact other higher spirits or even help us make positive changes in our lives or others. But instead, the practitioner is guided to work with demons. Why are we doing this? Which I firmly discourage without just a justifiable reason. Okay, I don't got nothing against demons or anything. They got their place. Let's say they don't have their place, and I think demon is that's been it's such a generalized term. But you got some angels that can put in some work, and you swear it's a demon on you, but it be an angel that that's scary like a demon. And I'm telling you now, they got some angels in there that are fierce. You be thinking it's a demon, no, it's an angel. Okay, they got divine authority to get justice. They come in there like that. Don't play with you. Okay, you got some angels like that, and then you got some demons that work on a subtle level. you know, and you look at what they do and you be like, why do they even call him a demon? Because they don't even, this is, you know, you go looking at they should have never been put in that term. They even got some of our ancestors in demonology. They got Papa Legba over there. Okay. I think they got, if not Shango over there. And we know that they're not demons. That you didn't generalize this term. So now you putting spirits under there that you can't control, because that's what we're going on. That's what I tell you. You can't control, and you have to actually have to do some self work to get the benefits of these spirits. Now you want to demonize them. A lot of that happens when patriarchs, or the Abrahamic religion, let me put it like that, when the Abrahamic religion realized that they couldn't control these spirits, that they would actually have to do some work in order to gain that sort of power from this spirit. They didn't want to do it because they can't command or subjugate these spirits, and these are spirits that you cannot demand or subjugate. Okay, and that they have deemed as demon, and they're not. They all have their place. Okay. And so that's why I firmly, I don't agree doing it this way, especially if there's, uh, I don't agree doing this. There's no integration happening here. And what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Why do we want this power? Why are we doing this? I just disagree with what he was doing. I do agree with the framework and the ritual, in some form of removing the distractions and things like that when you're doing the shadow work, the study into self, you know, sitting with oneself, going into hermit mode, spending a lot of time with self. I do agree to that. But at the extreme that he is doing it, no, I think that can be dangerous for some people. It is said that the practitioner is strengthened and protected by their connection to the holy guardian angel. and call and the Holy Garden angel calls forth each demon prince and demands their oath of obedience. Okay? So now we're taking an oath, we're making pacts. I have to think that. But this is not done through threats or elaborate magical weapons, as in grimoires. The authority comes from the purity achieved during the 6-month purification, from the direct connection to the divine will that has been established. The practitioner speaks not from personal ego, but from a vessel of divine intention. It is this that compels the demons to submit. They confront aspects of themselves they had denied or repressed: rage, lust, pride, despair, not to destroy these forces, but to acknowledge them, to strip them of their unconscious power over the psyche. Again, and it's just like this. This book is gonna read just like this, okay? And to redirect their energy toward conscious spiritual purpose. That's what really needs to be done when you're doing that. Not, I don't think, to subjugate them. You're gonna have a hard time with it because you're gonna find out that you ain't perfect. Okay. The interesting thing about this method, if the practitioner slips up at any time, those spirits can subjugate the practitioner. In my opinion, the practitioner is not actively healing those aspects of themselves. This process is more focused on discipline, purification, and willpower to control demons. Okay. One thing I do agree with in this book: with much power comes strong will and discipline. The first and most critical lesson is this: purification must always precede power. In our modern world, we are conditioned to want results immediately, to seek shortcuts, to believe that we can have what we desire without fundamental change. I see a lot of this go on. This is being Hoodoo is being reduced to this. This is what Hoodoo being reduced to. You got people up here steady showing, spells and all this stuff, and people not in alignment with the work, and they want this change, and it's not happening. But every genuine spiritual tradition teaches the opposite truth. The real power, real wisdom, real transformation comes only after we have purified ourselves of the obstacles that block our connection to our higher consciousness. Before you seek to invoke any spiritual force, before you attempt any advanced practice, you must first do the work of clearing your own vessel. Okay? That's why we do all the spiritual baths. That's why we do the healing. Okay? That is why we're doing that. To begin this work, you don't need to retreat into complete isolation for 6 months, but you can create a daily discipline that moves you in that direction. This might mean beginning each day with a meditation or prayer, whatever form speaks to your understanding of the divine. It might mean abstaining from substances that cloud your awareness, not forever necessarily, but for defined periods where you can observe how they affect your consciousness. It might mean reducing exposure to media or entertainment that fills your mind with noise and distraction, creating space for silence and reflection instead. Establish a sacred space in your home, even if it's just a corner of a room. This doesn't require elaborate tools or expensive items. It requires intentions. One practical method is the technique of conscious dialogue with your shadow aspects. This helped me a lot. This helps me a lot. That journaling helps me a lot to really tap into that part of my mind. When you notice a strong negative emotion arise, anger, jealousy, fear, shame, instead of suppressing it or acting it out, sit with it. Ask questions. Why are you here? Why are you thinking like that? Okay. In your journal, write from the perspective of that emotion, as if it were a character with its own voice. Because what you're see, it is. There's actually a spirit doing this. Okay? You're not gonna see that till you start writing it out, and it goes to answering you back. You go to really asking yourself questions. And you be like, oh my God, this is a whole, you know, intelligence here. This is a whole thing here. Okay? Let your anger speak. Let your fear explain itself. What will you discover is these shadow aspects, when given voice in a conscious and controlled way, often reveal wounds that need healing, needs that been ignored, truths that you have been avoiding. But here is a crucial safeguard. Begin every shadow work session by reconnecting with divine intention and your highest understanding of truth and love. This is your holy guardian angel, okay? The aspect of you that remains stable and wise, your empathy, your sympathy, your compassion. Even as you explore the chaotic territories of your psyche, without this anchor, shadow work can spiral into self-indulgence, into feeding the very demons you're trying to understand. Okay? You can torment yourself even more. So I say, two, don't go in it by yourself. The greatest danger in all spiritual work is not lack of knowledge, but the lack of self awareness about the current level of development. If you find yourself drawn to practices that promises rapid power, to teachings that calm you and can skip the purification process, to systems that appeal to your ego rather than challenging it, stop. True spiritual authority comes from those who have walked the path themselves, who have done the work of purification, who speak from humility rather than arrogance. Okay? So if you see that going on, you see that going on where people say, I can do this spell, I can do all this, yeah, you probably can do it, but should you? Should you be doing that? Yeah, we can do a whole bunch of things, okay? But should you be doing it? Okay, you're gonna hear that a lot. And the real the most powerful practitioners, they don't even operate that way. Okay? They don't. They're the most unseemly people. You're really not gonna know what they can do. They're not gonna tell you what they can do until you see them do it, and you're gonna be like, wow. Okay? They're they're just not gonna do it. You're not gonna know a lot about what they do. Now, another book that I found that it was very helpful because you got two books in there. And I love Damon Brand. And Damon Brand has written I think, a easy to do book on Aberline magic, and the name of the book is called Magickal Destiny. So you got that book in there too. This book right here, I think it has a better framework and more reasonable than taking the approach of Aberline magic. It's still Aberline magic, but with a more modest approach. Okay? The Power of Your Holy Garden Angel by Damon is an easy to read and gain a greater understanding and updated version of Aberline rituals and work. The book introduces a sequence of magical protocols that allow the reader to make contact with their angel, enhancing their connection, providing a deeper understanding of their spiritual guidance. The process is designed to be safe, free from disruption, and accessible to all levels of experience, focusing on practical magic that delivers immediate benefits. The author uses a more straightforward contemporary words, practical and integrated into everyday life, which that it is how it should be. Because shadow work is ongoing. You never really complete it because you're always growing. You're always unpeeling layers of yourself, and the human psyche has many layers to it. And so the way, as we grow, we change. As when we get older, we change. What was okay to do last year, it's not okay to do, the next year. Okay, what was normal for my parents to do in their age, it's not normal for us to do in our age, and I've had to learn that as Gen X, because now I be looking at this gentle parenting. And I'm like, that ain't what we was taught. Our parents, the boomers, were putting their hands on us. Okay. And Gen X, we didn't do a lot of I know I didn't. I gave them more than what my parents gave me. But No, it wasn't no gentle parenting. Okay, that's not what was passed on to me. But now I see, wow, I was doing that totally wrong. Okay, so we're always refining things. We're updating ourselves. So shadow work will be ongoing always. Okay, it's just it's better to get started with it and start approaching it, to start peeling back your power and start healing. Okay, just to keep it ongoing, and you'll take breaks from it and then you'll go back to it again. Okay, it's just a way you keep the spirit tuned up. You keep the spirit and the mind tuned up that way, keeping your self awareness growing, not getting too comfortable. Okay, you're always growing. Okay. So the magical destiny is built on the idea that the holy guardian angel is not distant or hidden or difficult to reach, but already present and aware of the practitioner. Now, I don't know why they think that in Abra, I see that in a lot of patriarch uh spiritual concepts. They think this God is somewhere way, way away from them. And it's not. Or it's so very hard to contact when it's not. Okay. It takes your self awareness and slowing down. Okay, it takes you having getting time to yourself. It doesn't, you don't have to do all that. Okay, this is a major philosophical shift from older systems, which emphasize long periods of purification, isolation, ritual discipline before any meaningful contact can be made. In contrast, the book presents relationships as something that can be developed gradually through consistent engagement without a need for extreme conditions or withdrawal from daily responsibility. This is exactly what we do in Hoodoo. Okay, we would develop a relationship with our ancestors. We go there back and forward. Okay, and we talk to our most elevated ancestors, putting things on the offer, on put offerings on the altar, and we're just, letting the relationship unfold. Okay, that's how that should be done. The shift reflects a broader evolution in modern occultism, where accessibility has become a priority. The book work removes many of the formal barriers that once defined ceremonial magic. And you see this go on too with a lot of ceremonial magic. That's how you got chaos magic being born, because some of these occultists will have the one size fit all. They want you to do it this way. This is the only way. And what it starts happening is everybody's spiritual journey is not the same. Same thing with religion. Y'all come up with this religion, you think everybody believe the same way. No, it does not. Everybody has their own spiritual journey and walk, and everybody has their own magic, their own creativity, their own art. And so, what a lot of them start realizing it too, that hey, I've been doing this with y'all, and doing it this way is not helping me tap into my magic. I just can't feel this God in your religion the way it don't make sense to me. This is what started happening. Okay. And some of the people that again wanted to embrace their authenticity, they didn't want to do it that way. A lot of them got orchestrized. You know what happens when you choose not to conform? These people, some of these people get mad. These spirits get mad because they're trying to control, they're trying to get you to go along with a program. But what was happening, two people were saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. This ain't, and when they followed their own intuition, they tapped into their own magic. They found their own magic. Okay. There is no requirement or for elaborate temple spaces, no strict or adherence to planetary hours, and no expectation of total seclusion. It's to a series of carefully designed ritual process that can be performed within the rhythm of ordinary life. These processes rely on symbolic interaction, particularly through the use of sigils, which act as a focal points for intentions and connection. The simplicity of these methods are intentional, aiming to reduce the resistance and allow practitioners to engage with the work consistently. Okay. And we've went over a lot of Damon Brand books. We have uh, great books on sigils, calling angels. I mean, we just have so many angel books in there that helps you develop a relationship with angels. Okay. We got working magic with angels. And again, we're taking a soft approach to developing a relationship with them, being intentional and self aware. And you're going to get the same results. Okay. But you're letting it unfold naturally instead of forcing it. Okay. So I recommend Magickal Destiny uh, over Aberline Sacred Magic because of the dangers in it. I'm just going to be real with you. But if that's something that you want to try, I don't recommend it. That can't turn out good for you. Uh, if that's something you want to try, I can't stop you. Then you go right ahead and do that. Okay, but I don't recommend it at all because people have tried. Many occultists, renowned occultists, have tried this and failed. You have to abandon it altogether because it's too extreme. It's not natural. Okay, we did out. He was doing this for power. Okay. It's despite the simplification, the central theme of the book remains deeply rooted in idea of alignment with higher guiding intelligence. The angel is described as an intimate presence that understands the practitioner's desires, fears, and potential. They already understand that. And with us, we look at a lot of people look at the guardian angel as the Ori. Some people look at the guardian angel as the highest self. Okay. But this Ori, again, we're trying to open up a bridge so we can communicate more with our Ori or guardian angel. It's already there. Again, we have to take time to acknowledge it, okay, and giving it permission to communicate with us. Sometimes this is done through tarot cards, but it really helps when you have done the shadow work and cleared out a lot of that negativity that's going on in your mind. It clears up the communication. This framing shifts the relationship from one seeking permission or worthiness to one recognition and cooperation. Because I mean, your Ori is already there. I mean, your guardian angel already there. Why are we doing all this stuff? Because it was assigned to you. It was assigned to you. So why are you doing all this other stuff? I can understand the purification and the bathing, the healing yourself and removing things like that. But you have access to your Ori, your guardian angel at all time. It's not far from you. You have to we It is important for us to give ourselves permission to communicate with our Ori uh more, become more aware of it. Okay, it's not far from you. We just not haven't given ourselves permission to communicate with it. The practitioner is encouraged to view the angel not as something to be attained after transformation, but as a partner in the process of transformation itself. And that is the Ori. Now we can update this because now you go back and look at this now, and you're looking at the Ori and you're looking at the guardian angel the way we look at it. We're able to understand and comprehend it better, I think, from where he wrote this within the 15th century. I think it was in the 14th or 15th century when he wrote Aberline. I mean, this information was documented and it was given to other people. Okay. Why am I thinking 12th century? Maybe it was the 12th century. I think this is older than the 12th century and it got revised in the 15th century or something like that. Okay. But now we update this now. We understand this. And now we have more than Western occult framework. We can also look at our AT arc framework. That occult science is there. and look at how we're looking at how they're looking at the guardian angel and how we're looking at the Ori. Because when you're looking at the guardian angel, you're looking that's the Ori as well. That's the higher self. They're not separate. Okay? This perspective has important implications for how spiritual development is understood. In traditional system, transformation is the prerequisite for contact. The author's approach contact becomes the catalyst for transformation. By engaging with the angel early and consistently, the practitioner begins to experience shifts in awareness. I think this is awesome when this starts to happen. Okay, you know when you're coming in contact because your thinking patterns are going to change, they're going to improve. The things that you used to, entertain in your mind, you're not going to be entertaining those things anymore. Your whole thinking process is going to change. Decision making and perception. The guidance received is not always dramatic or overt. It is often manifests as subtle intuition, a sense of knowing, or increased ability to navigate life with clarity. Over time, this relationship is said to influence the direction of one's life, aligning actions and opportunities with deeper sense of purpose. Is that what the Ori do? Okay. So it's going to bring, again, put you in alignment with things. The perception of the angel can certainly evolve and change over time, and it's true. The sensing of angel can range from noticing changes in your life to feeling a conscious presence right through to seeing and knowing a being as though it were physically present with you. Sometimes you'll feel that presence. I've had people say, I felt something there, or they feel a overwhelming sense of love. Okay. Again, this is going to take you sitting, invoking that presence and sitting with it and getting to know that energy. This is going to require some self care and you sitting, having some time to yourself. This spectrum of experience reflects the deepening relationship between practitioner and angel, where initial subtle impressions may gradually give way to more vivid and tangible encounters, each stage offering unique insights and support on spiritual path. Now, I know when I first moved here in Thailand, I was dealing with so much anxiety. I just could not settle down. I couldn't get settled. It was in me. Okay, it was really in me. And so what I started doing, the instance like well, you need to, this time for you to work with an angel. Start invoking an angel. And so what I did is start working with the Archangel Michael. Every day I just start praying, doing these prayers and playing these prayers to Archangel Michael throughout the house, burning sandalwood incense. When I took a bath, I was playing Archangel Michael prayer. I just, I was saying prayers. I was repeating 91. I did this. This went on for about a week or two. And all of a sudden, my nervous system just got really calm. I said, oh my gosh, internally, I felt so calm. Okay. And it is the subtle energy, the medicine that these angels leave with you when you start working with them. And sometimes you won't even notice it because it's so subtle. But I start noticing in myself that anxiety, it was gone. All that shakiness that I felt like that was going on the inside of me, it was gone. Okay. And I had that in my daughter's room too. I'm constantly working in my daughter's room. So their medicine, uh, again, you're gonna have to stay aware of yourself to really see the shifts and changes. Okay, and it worked. Okay, they came right on in and hi, Orca Deborah, from Florida. They came right on in, and my house it's in a better place. It's in a better place. And I told you, I put some things down, and I told you my realtor, he don't even think about coming up here anymore. Okay, I met him the other day, and that he didn't want to come in. We sat down there at the table, and took care of our paperwork. But yeah, okay, there definitely see a difference in your home. You'll definitely feel it. Okay, but I had to, constantly, and now I got Archangel Michael just sitting in the living room. I got his image just sitting in the living room. Okay, I just have him there sitting there and work with him often when it comes to my daughter. I can feel a shift in her room and feel a shift in the house. Okay. The Holy Guardian Angel is presented as a force that can help the practitioner recognize and move toward their most fulfilling path. Okay, this does not eliminate struggle or difficulty, but it reframes the experience as part of a larger process guided by the intelligences rather than randomness. In this way, the book positions spiritual practice as a means of actively participating in the unfolding of one's life rather than passively accepting circumstances. That's why, we're doing the divination. We're constantly in contact with ourselves. We're constantly healing ourselves and just going to our authentic self, our true self. Because some of us are not living in our true self. Some of us are living in our false self, and we think that it's our true self, but it's absolutely not. But you won't see it until you start stripping down that house and throwing out old stuff in that house that don't serve you no more, and then you're gonna start saying, "Wow, wow, wow, I'm not this at all." Okay. The emphasis on simplicity, repetition, and symbolic focus aligns with the modern understanding of how ritual affects the mind and perception. And the thing about the shadow work is consistency. The thing about ritual is consistency. Okay, by reducing complexity, the system also allows the practitioner to bypass the intimidation and rigidity that often accompany ceremonial magic, making the work more approachable without entirely abandoning the spiritual path. We're focused more on consistency than this ceremonial type of their rigid way of doing it. How often are we doing it? Okay. That's more important, but because with ceremonial magic too, because you'll see this as a cult, it kind of it still function like a little religion because they want all you doing the same thing. It's the same. It kind of functions the same way. But with this, you're taking back your power, uh, having it work for you in your own way, at your own pace. Now, Crowley took this work and attempted to simplify the materials. He created another working that was viewed by some as the only way to contact the angel, and that method worked as well. Okay, clearly there was many paths to the same place. So you've seen other people take this and make it their own, and they still had good results. There's more than one way to do this. Okay, so you're seeing that. This insight reinforces the idea that spiritual transformation is less about rigid adherence to a single formula and more about genuine intention and commitment behind the practice. It suggests that flexibility and personal adaptation can be just as powerful as a tradition in facilitating meaningful change. Is the intention there? That's all that matters. Is the time and intention there? Is the time, intention, and sincerity there? That's gonna let you know if it's gonna work. The ritual is taking effect. It ain't gonna do anything if there's no real meaning in it. Okay. But like I tell you, these spirits like time. They like to see you doing that. They see you actually putting in effort and they see you doing it. These spirits love that. Okay. Your ancestors love to see that. They love to see when you're healing and that you're actually taking the time to invoke them and spending time being consistent with that. That is what they're looking at. Because time is a very expensive currency. That's why you got people paying you for it. Okay, transformation can occur through gradual engagement rather than intensive initiation. This raises important questions about the nature of spiritual work. and whether different paths can lead to the same destination. What remains clear is that the book continues a long standing conversation about the nature of guidance, transformation, and destiny. It suggests that path of spiritual alignment does not have to follow a single rigid structure, but can adapt to a reality's contemporary's life while still engaging with timeless principle. Integration. We just started I hope I told y'all this. We just added another membership tier called Hoodoo Master. And I just got through talking with the practitioners in there and help them understand what Hoodoo Master means. No, it doesn't mean that we know everything. It means that we live this life. It means that Hoodoo is a way of life for us. Okay? We don't just pick this up and do this and then put it back on the shelf when we don't need it. No. We have a spiritual lifestyle. This is a way of life. When you see that we are looking at every solution, every problem we have, we come up with a spiritual solution to everyday problems. That's Hoodoo. We go to looking for a spiritual solution for everyday problems. It's not saying I know everything. It's saying I approach my everyday issues with spiritual solutions. And I go look right to Hoodoo for it. I get up in the morning doing this work. When something come up, this is the first thing I'm gonna be looking at to fix it. Okay. I know how powerful the spiritual baths is. I know how powerful the Psalms is. I know how powerful the relationship with my ancestors is. This is every day for me. It's not I know it all. It's that I'm open to learning it all. And I live this life. Okay. So that's important to learn. Doesn't mean that and I think people when I see people say, "Oh, I know it all." No, you don't. No, you probably living this life. I hope meaning that you live this life. You can know all of this stuff and not live the life. I don't care what you know. Are you living this? Are you practicing what you preach? Are you living this? There's a lot of people know a lot of stuff, but they ain't doing it. Okay, so that to me that's mastery. That is any practitioner that is real seasoned mastery. When you live the life, you don't know everything, but you open to learn everything and you live this life. Okay. In doing so, it offers a vision of magic that is not confined to a ritual space, but woven into fabric of everyday experience, where the relationship with the holy garden angel becomes not isolated achievement, but an ongoing presence shaping the direction of one's life. Those who attain a true connection usually keep the details of their experience private. Okay. And that's normal. I'd like to document my experience. I have a few people in my community. If I feel like I'm safe, then I'll share that experience with them. But your experience, again, this is your relationship with the divine. And so your experience can be as private as you want it to be. You can share it with other people. But I find it, keeping it to yourself and sharing it with a small group of people um, is safer. Okay. Especially the people that's on this path and that get what you're trying to say or who can relate to your experience. Often at the angel's request, but it is quite apparent from a few public revelations that what happens is a unique for each person. You are not required to seek a particular experience to prove that your angel is authentic. Everyone experience is going to be different. Okay. It's not going to be the same. Of course, you can share your experience and maybe that will help other people to be experienced, but each to its own. It's not going to look identical. Okay. Everyone's senses, everybody's spiritual gifts work differently. Your personal sense of the angel and its power to protect, guide, and empower you will be evidence enough that you have attained genuine, effective connection. Okay. And I love working with angels. Angels, they really too. I love working with angels and archangels. They have no problem with showing you that they're there. When you start asking them to show you signs and stuff, they have no problem. They'll start showing you signs. And sometimes it'll scare you. They don't do it in a way where it's scary, but they do it in a subtle way, like in your face. I did what you said. Here is the sign. And you be like, oh my gosh, like y'all really hearing me? Like, yeah, we heard you. Okay. They have no problem with showing you that they're there. Okay, you start running the feathers, these little synchronicities that start happening. They don't mind showing you that they're there. Angels don't mind. Okay, and of course ancestors don't mind either because I've seen them do things and you think they just confined to a certain place. No, you know, these spirits they will show you. You ask for a sign, they will start showing you, especially angels. Okay, they'll really start showing you signs that they're there and that they're working with you. You start getting these nudges and your thinking pattern is going to change. That's how you know that you have come in contact with angels because you'll start getting what y'all call these downloads, or you'll get these streams of inspirational thoughts and creativity. Okay. In the Aberline process, the practitioner commits to a period of consistent prayers and focused intentional living. Over time, this level of discipline begins to quiet external distractions and bring awareness inward. As the awareness deepens, the practitioner is no longer able to avoid themselves, their thoughts, emotional patterns, and conditioned behavior, and internal conflicts begin to rise to the surface. This is not a distraction from the work, it is the work. Okay? That is the real ancestors' work. That is the work, that needs to be done. This same process unfolds within our know thyself practice. You'll see that happen a lot of you start to look at our program, you're going to run into this too. The same thing happens to that. As individuals begin to observe themselves more intentionally, they start to recognize the patterns that have been operating beneath the surface. These include habitual thoughts, emotional responses, and behaviors that were formed through past experience. With awareness, these patterns are no longer hidden, they become visible and therefore subject to change. Through this process, two aspects of consciousness begin to reveal themselves. On one hand, there is a higher, more aligned aspect, clear, intuitive, grounded awareness. And on the other hand, there are reactive conditioned patterns that were developed for survival. It's a trip when you see them. Okay. Because I've seen myself saying, I'm like, okay, so why you doing that? Why you judging that person like that? Why are you doing that? Because you'll see that come up in yourself. You start questioning yourself why you do things. Okay? That's how you know the healing is happening and that you're becoming more aware. And you might get a response back from that judgment. Well, I'm used to doing that because that's how I keep myself safe. I'm going to judge them before they judge me. Well, that's not right. Okay, that's not right. We don't need to do that because that's not right. Instantly, I'm gonna start talking to that judgment. No, we're not gonna do that. That's not fair. We wouldn't want to be judged. We wouldn't want that to be done to us. So we're not going to do that. We're gonna change the way our thinking when we first meet people. you know, Again, you'll have this come up. The awareness start to come up. You stop letting these things kind of control you. Okay. On the other hand, okay, we see the survival patterns. We know most of them come from survival. Okay, with your Aberline, these are symbolized as the holy guardian angel and what are referred to as demons. Okay, in that time they call it demons because they didn't have no psychological words uh to call this. So yes, they're calling it guardian angel and they calling it demons because there was no psychological terms for this. What you see as demons and all that today, in psychology, it was approached through this type of lens in that day. There was no terms really for that until psychology was really developed. These words, we came up with better words, but these were the words that we explained the inner workings of the mind and the spirit. I hope I haven't lost you. And a lot of people now, they try to separate it. We want to separate science from spirit. I find that hard to do because you're going to run right into that. You're going to run into psychology and spirituality, so you can just stop doing the spiritual bypass because you're going to run into this. If your mind is not right, then only for so far you're going to get with this. Okay? And a lot of people try to keep this separate, but it's not. You can try to do that if you want to, but it's just not. You're going to run into this every time. You're going to come back to this. Because if your mind is not operating right, your emotions not operating right, your bio spiritual center is not operating right, you can be missing important spiritual psychic information. Because that's how it's going to be coming through. The similarity between these systems lies in how these aspects are approached. Neither path requires rejection or darker elements of self. Instead, both emphasize recognition and understanding. The patterns that once govern behavior are acknowledged, but what they are responses that were once useful in navigating difficult and unconscious environments. With increased awareness, the practitioner begins to relate to these patterns differently. They are no longer identified with or controlled by them. Okay? You'll start catching yourself. Remember somebody that was in our group I had attended, this lady, she said she was taking an airplane, and she just was lying to this man. She was lying to this man, telling him she had this nice house, and she had this and this and that, and she was just lying to him. And she had no idea. She said, "I don't know why I would lie to him. I don't know why I felt a need to just lie to this man to impress him with lies and stuff." And she was really trying to pin down why she was lying and using these lies to impress this man. And she sat with herself about it. This is an older woman too. I was just very impressed and moved by her realization and how she approached it. And so she sat with herself and she was writing, doing her work and writing and why she lied, and that she was going to fix that. And so the next time she saw the man she lied to, because it takes some brutal honesty here, uh, to stay authentic, because a lot of people are not honest. A lot of people are conformists and they live in a false self. But I like the way this woman approached this. She said she went back to that man and she said, "You know what? I lied to you and I don't know why. I don't know why I lied to you about having this or having that. I lied about this and I lied about this and I lied about that." I mean, she's telling this guy that she's lied to him. And she said, "And I don't know why I did that. I guess I thought I wanted to impress you, and I don't know why I wanted to impress you. But I lied, and I apologize. Please forgive me. I don't know why I lied to you. And this is what I really live in, and this is what it's really like for me, and this is what it really is." So she was being truthful and authentic. And I'm sure the man was very, taken back, that in shock. But for her, it was such a release and a relief to just say, "Hey, let's stop the, cap, and this is really me." And she really got a chance to ask herself some really heavy questions of why was she lying? Why was she trying to impress him? Who was he to be trying to impress? But she'd have never known that about herself, or never gained that power of authenticity, had she not went back and, just told him the truth. And it didn't mean anything to him, but it meant a lot to her. And these are the things that a lot of these spirits don't like. A lot of these spirits are trying to keep you oppressed away from your power. They don't like that. They don't like honesty. In fact, some of them look at that as a weakness. Okay. One of the most significant outcomes of this process is the improvement of spiritual communication and intuition. I promise you. As the individual becomes more self aware, the internal noise created by fear, conditioning, and reactive thinking begins to diminish. This allows for greater discernment. The practitioner can more easily distinguish between thoughts that arise from old patterns and those that reflect deeper insight or guidance. Because you're going to be asking yourself questions. Where is this coming from? Why I'm feeling like this? What's going on with me? Okay. You're not just going to be on autopilot because a lot of us been on autopilot and we haven't been taught to really give ourselves care. Okay. This is why both the Aberline system and the Know Thyself work or shadow work place such importance on the study of self. Self awareness is not separate from spiritual development, it is foundational to it. Without understanding one's own mind, it becomes difficult to interpret spiritual experiences accurately. With understanding, clarity emerges. Have to understand that how your mind operates. What type of symbols do the spirits use to talk to you? What does those symbols mean? That all that is important. Now, if you don't know how your mind works, you don't know how you function, you don't even know yourself. How you gonna progress? How you gonna make any progress with this? And people think this is separate, but no, it's not. It is not separate at all. It all works together. Okay. The similarities between these paths demonstrate a shared principle. Transformation begins within, whether framed as ceremonial magic or personal development. The process involves observing, understanding, ultimately transcending the patterns that limit awareness. As these patterns lose their influence, the individual becomes more aligned with their higher nature, leading to greater clarity, balance, and spiritual connection. Okay, the more you understand yourself and why you do things, it's gonna make you a great healer because you understand the human condition. Okay, and you understand how these survival spirits work in people. Which, when you heal yourself, you become a better healer to others. Because if you don't understand yourself, how you gonna understand other people? Understand the nature of why they do things. Okay, so that's very important. So I was happy to go over Abraham. Somebody, I think it was a member that brought this to my attention, but I thought I had went over Aberline magic in our community. I don't know how I missed that, but we have. This is us going over it thoroughly. Now you know what it is, and we have posted some great resources in there, which we've already talked about angels. We've already talked about this, so this is more of a review as well. And then I wanted to post this material here because I thought I had already posted it in our community. And mind you, not this book, the book that we have on sacred magic, Aberline magic. I think that book is over 50 years old, if not 100 years old. Okay. And so I noticed that those books, there can be a hard read because of the language and in the era that they were born in. Sometimes they can be a hard read. And so I was very happy to find the book Magical Destiny because it was an easy read, written in modern, easy to understand language now. But if you go through the book Sacred Magic and the Holy Guardian Angel, because there's two books, there's one to communicate with the Holy Guardian Angel, and then there's one that focus on the Abermelin rituals to contact the Holy Guardian Angel. And both of them, because they were written in such a old era, sometimes you can the meaning is hard to interpret, and so it would take a lot of slowing down. And of course, Abermelin, he was from Germany. Okay. So sometimes the wording, you need to slow down and understand the wording versus Magical Destiny. They've broken it down for you. It's in modern term and it's doable, which I highly recommend. I just don't recommend the Abermelin rituals. I just think they're it I think they're dangerous if you haven't done your work. Now, if you're interested into beginning to go in deeper with this work, I invite you to one of our shadow workshops we're going to be having on April 12th. Okay, it's going to be a 3-hour workshop where we can get you started in your shadow work. Okay, 3-hour workshop, and we're going to be diving deep. We're going to go into the family pathology and then cover patterns passed down to you that could be passed down to you, your bloodline. We're going to be asking the hard questions here. It's going to be a 3-hour workshop, and then we'll open the floor to for you to ask questions and share your experience. Okay, this is a sacred space that we'll be holding. Okay, and then we'll be doing a guided meditation to do the shadow work, where I'll walk you through a meditation to help you start looking at those parts of yourself and have them to come up. And then we're going to journal on them and talk about them. Okay. Now I've posted some details about this event. I will be posting details about this event on TikTok and YouTube within the probably within this week or next week. You'll be getting more information on how to attend that Zoom, okay, that virtual Zoom workshop. And it's going to be very powerful. And if you're in our community, especially if you're in our Know Thyself member, or if you are a Hoodoo Master member, you automatically get free access to these workshops. Okay. So if you're in our community, and you're a Know Thyself member or a Hoodoo Master member, you automatically get access to these workshops. If you are not a member in our community and you're not in these membership tiers, you will have the opportunity of coming to these workshops for a small fee. And I think it's worth every bit of it with the work that we're going to be doing in here. You also get a free journal, shadow work journal, so you can keep doing this work ongoing. But this is going to be a great workshop to get you started, to help you understand what that shadow work looks like, and to give you framework to keep doing this ongoing healing and growing your self awareness. Okay. Does anyone have anything to add here before I close this out? We went over a lot. And of course, you have all this information that we have covered. You have a presentation there, and you should have gotten 3 books. Okay. And then we have a workshop that is going to be coming up on April 12th, where we're going to be doing this work collectively together. Okay. And if you're interested in it, I will be posting more information in our YouTube community. I've been, posting things there in our community where you can see what's going on, what type of activities we have going on. So I've, I'm keeping you updated on YouTube in our community if you go there and see our post. And TikTok, I'll be posting how to join and how to get involved with you guys as well, if you're interested in that. But it's powerful work. I do recommend that you do it. Does anyone have any questions for me? Anything to add? I know we covered a lot here. And I know this is stuff it's not popular. I know you want me to come here and show you a spell and tell you all kinds of stuff like that. I think you have plenty of that stuff that's out there for you to learn that. I think it's more important that you have a foundation, a solid foundation to work from when you start doing that. Okay, so that's why I'm having this discussion. All right, you guys, I don't see any questions in here. And thank you for everyone who attended, who found this helpful, because a lot of you have come up in my box and said, Miss Penny, I love the things you're talking about. It's so helpful. It's really helping me understand things. And I'm so happy when you guys say that. Okay. Because I wanted, that is my mission, is to help this make sense to you and help you understand this as much as possible. So I thank you for all your support. I thank you for all the follows. I thank you for all the shares. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, because we have these kind of topics all the time. Okay. All right, you guys. Light, love, namaste, ashe, love one. Happy who doing and conjure.